to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
Much of what you see and hear on the following program may be shocking and upsetting to you. But if you will listen calmly and with an open mind, you may discover the key to the peace of mind and joy for which you've been searching all of your life.
America first.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Smith Radio. Your host, Brian Smith and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all the late-breaking news of last week, wrapping it all up, making sense of it all, exposing the fake news media that is out there, along with our with the help of the always inspiring Bernie Sanders.
CNN fake news. What do you think?
Yeah, I think.
What do you think? Of course, we know what we're talking about.
I think you're on board with us, Bernie. Thank you, buddy. If you want to be a part of the show, the call-in line is 513-888-1538. If you are listening to us live right now, you can join the message board. It's live message chat on Spreaker. But I made a quick link for you. If you just go to smithradio.info, I-N-F-O.
Okay. What happened to smithradio.com?
That goes to our website.
Oh, okay. So smithradio.info
is a direct link to our Spreaker page where you'll see the live.
Oh, okay. Because that actually works better for some people.
Right.
Some people were complaining that when they go to smithradio.com, that with all the different feeds, the RSS feeds, that it takes too long for the actual link for the live broadcast to come up, which is okay, because if you go smithradio.info, you go directly to the Spreaker landing page for our broadcast.
Right. And follow us on Facebook at Smith Radio. At Smith Radio. We are on Facebook with the Smith Radio name, facebook.com/Smith Radio.
Right.
On Twitter at Smith Radio. Also, my handle on Twitter, Brian P. Smith, S-M-Y-T-H, Brian with an I. You follow me on Twitter, trying to get that thing up and coming.
Doing good.
YouTube account. I mean, with YouTube Smith Radio, it basically anywhere you go.
What's the Paul Smith one? Is that on the YouTube?
Well, YouTube forces you. It is against the rules to have a name that they deem is not a real name.
Okay, so
they didn't believe me. My name was Smith Radio or Radio Smith. Either way.
I thought that was the problem with Facebook. Because Mark Zuckerberg, he's got some major mental issues, psychological damage,
to say the least. But no, it's for those of you out there that have Google accounts, you probably understand. Unlike Twitter, where you can actually change your name to say something different any given day of the week.
Yeah, like Deplorable Smith or whatever, KGB Smith.
You're right. You cannot do that on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
You cannot. I
remember when they changed that. Because they said, we noticed you have a one single word username.
Right.
Would you like to use your real name?
No, I'm good.
Yeah, I said no. Because it would have been a whole new account. I had all my subscriptions and all my saved to favorites, and it was just a mess. So anyway, now Facebook has always been completely anal retentive when it comes to using your real name. Remember a friend of ours here in Cincinnati that said her name was Choo Choo.
Oh,
Trump.
Yeah, I remember.
Last name Trump, first name Choo Choo.
Right.
And that flew for the longest time. Until finally what happened was she was putting up too much pro-Trump, anti-Hillary, pro-conservative type posts, and that got the attention
Dude, you can't do that.
of the staff at Facebook. And they said, whoa, how can we combat this? Because that was what they were tasked to do, is to combat all of they're part of the propaganda machine.
Correct.
And part of propaganda is pushing for the narrative of the left. But the other part is counter propaganda, which is trying to combat what you see on the pro-conservative side. So what they did was they went after her, and how many pages we got here? They went after her and said, That doesn't look like a real name. We don't believe. We want you to.
Oh, provide. Didn't she have to provide some type of documentation?
She had to scan her birth certificate. You think that I'm joking? I think that they wanted that kind of proof.
I ran across that one time. I don't know which social media outlet it was. I ran across it. They said that they didn't believe that was my name and requested more information. It might have been Facebook. At one time, when this whole thing began early on, I was involved with, the possibility of making money on the internet legally and advertising, which turns out to be absolute spam and everybody hates it and it doesn't work anyways. Mm-hmm, but if you have multiple Facebook accounts back in the day, you could have up to, if you were good, you could have up to 18, 20, 30, 40 accounts.
Okay.
And if you went through my guys in Romania, they had a program that would set it all up for you, make it look real, have followers and stuff.
You guys are listening to Cutting Edge here on Smith Radio. We are, we're a little bit on the edge there. It's called edgy.
Well, with the wild, wild west of the internet, in the early days, people claiming, I made $4 million in 6 minutes. And the .com, the bubble boom, bust, and people did make a boatload of money really quick, and a lot of people lost a lot of money really quick.
Mark, what's his name from Dallas?
DFW?
No, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks.
Oh, yeah.
Why is his name? I know his first name, and I don't know his last name.
Because it's the same. I always think of Cuba.
Cuban.
Right.
Mark Cuban.
I think of a big giant cigar.
He was Mr. Bubble Boy.
And we've talked about this on the show a few times.
If you listen to our show regularly, you know exactly what the history of Mark Cuban is. So anyway, what happened this week? We had a lot of stuff going on.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
We're going to talk about the travel ban, the Ninth Circus Court of Appeals, the shopping of judges by the left. We're also going to get into some odds and ends of some appointees or some of Trump's cabinet starting to come together, starting to pull things together. I've got an article from Breitbart. We'll get into a little bit later on. The absolute and utter destruction of the left. The Democrats are completely imploding. The DNC is falling apart, and there is a lot of proof to show why that's an absolute fact. So I'm excited about that.
I have a little bit of reporting to do via about social networking and all that kind of stuff. I follow Mike Cernovich pretty closely, and he does his casts on Periscope, and they're kind of like little lessons. Sometimes they're long, 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Sometimes they're pretty short. It just depends on how long his newborn goes before starting to cry and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting.
Don't I know?
He's had to cut Periscopes off shorter than he wanted to because he'll be actually holding his sleeping baby, and then all of a sudden the baby will start to cry and whatever.
Just like us doing the show, and we've got screaming children that somehow, how do children sneak down into a well-fortified bunker?
Yeah. And get through the set. We did a lot of actual shopping at the old hardware store to purchase the required items in order to soundproof this place.
Right. Set up a bona fide.
But when it comes to toddlers, there is no amount of soundproofing. But anyway, so getting back to the social media. So apparently, at Smith Radio has been under absolute siege by Twitter staff. And Jack Dorsey, the founder, under absolute siege. If you looked at my numbers, you'd be like, dude, who is hacking you or something? Like, it was unbelievable. We've been messing around with this show and just tweeting stuff and being very active on Twitter for a long time. And we started with nothing. Like, a lot of people show up to Twitter with some sort of an active social network, maybe they cross-platformed or something like that, or maybe they have another way to drive traffic to Twitter. We started from the ground.
Yeah, scratch.
not only with Twitter, but we were funneling new followers to Twitter through our show, which had come from the ground.
Right.
Literally.
I worked with a young, I call him a kid. He's not old enough to drink, so is he a kid?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Is he old enough to not be able to be on their father's or mother's or parents'?
No, he is completely on their policy. He lives at home.
Basement.
He lives at home.
Okay.
He's a cool guy. And he mentioned to my wife one time, hey, get your son into racing. Get your boy when he grows up into racing.
Okay.
Because he'll be too broke to try drugs.
That's interesting. Interesting.
But anyway, so I mentioned to him about we've talked about the show, we've talked about Twitter, and I mentioned an article we read on the show about our generation, Generation X, not getting the social media. They're not grasping it. His dad is 1 year older than me, which still makes him a Generation X, right in the middle of Generation X. And he says his dad's at home all the time just watching TV. He said he doesn't get the Twitter. He don't get the Facebook. He'll use his son's Twitter account to look through stuff or his Facebook account to look through stuff. So my whole point, the reason why I'm bringing this up, it just validates the difficulty we had trying to run that curve, get that curve on social media with no hand. We don't have millennials holding our hand to make this happen.
Right. And it's funny because you look at some of the other big accounts that are associated with it used to be called alt-right, or it used to be associated with what we would think of as alt-right. But then once we found out what it really was, it's more of new media type things. You look at some of the followers of those guys, and they took off somewhere in the early to mid-summer of 2016. There was some sort of something going on with Twitter where they kind of had the floodgates open. There was a wave, and there was a lot of people that were riding that wave and got tens of thousands of followers in a really, really, really short period of time. And we kind of ramped up after all that happened. But if you look at our progression as far as new followers and our increase in following and all that kind of stuff, there's a pattern that you see going where you get a certain percentage of new followers per day. You're going to lose some per day too, but your net it's almost exponential. It's very slightly, it's not linear. So the more you have, the more potential you have to grow. So it has a slightly exponential growth pattern as far as following on Twitter.
Right.
Well, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, about 2 whole months ago, the following started really trickling down. And for the first couple of days, I thought, oh, well, maybe it's a slow week. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, after the election, people are starting to tire of politics. But it doesn't feel that way when you look at the activity on Twitter.
No.
Not at all.
And there's a friend of ours that started the Trumpocrats thing, and he was late to the game as well. That took off, I think, mostly in part because it was branded through Sean Hannity. There
was branding. It had built-in branding.
Right. Trumpocrats, and you can go to them, follow them on Twitter at Trumpocrats. They had built-in branding.
Yeah.
Yet
they came in late,
real late.
But people will look for them when they hear about them.
Yes, correct.
So and you will hear.
That's
about
how
them.
we found them. Because I kept hearing them on Hannity's show.
Yeah,
so I went looking for them because we're on Twitter.
And they're not even talking about an organization when they say Trumpocrats. They're literally talking about Democrats or people that historically voted Democrat who support or voted for Trump.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's a very generic name that was dreamt up. And so that Twitter handle has automatic branding. So we can compare our activity to other accounts such as Trumpocrats or maybe Mike Cernovich. He's the one. Of course, he's got a completely different business model as far as that's concerned. He's an author of several books, some of which have just come out, new ones, and all that kind of stuff.
Dude, what is it about people who write books? It seems like And I don't know. I mean, leaders are readers. So if you're listening to the show and you're a reader, that's awesome. Younger kids, you got to get into reading, get away from some of the internet sometime, crack open a book.
And if you're a bad reader, you could do like me and get it on Audible.
Right. True that.
Yeah.
However,
I highly
anybody that
recommend that.
writes a book seems to get, I mean, if it's a good book.
And the funny thing about Mike's book is that the one I read, which is the Gorilla Mindset one, is I got it on Audible and I listened to it and it was fine. But then when I looked at the reviews, there were all kinds of criticism of spelling and grammar errors. And I was like, well, wait a minute. I didn't even have to deal with that. I was just listening to him read the book.
Right.
So anyway, that I got a little bit off on a tangent, but so we compare our Twitter accounts to other people's Twitter accounts, and just to kind of gauge what's going on. So when I saw the slowdown 2 months ago, I was like, well, how about everybody else? Well, turns out there were other people who were not very popular. This is the key. If they're really famous, they were still just going out of control.
Okay.
Like your Bill Mitchells and Mike Cernovich is pretty, his numbers are out of
and
control
Paul
too.
Paul Joseph Watson.
Yeah. And so their numbers weren't directly affected, and I'll tell you why. It's because they're famous, and we'll get to that in a second. So you got all these people who are not known well as a public celebrity that have maybe a couple thousand followers on Twitter who were all in the same boat as us, who were like, I don't know what's going on, but our Twitter account is really acting weird. So we have Crowdfire. And Crowdfire is a tool. It's an app that you can download for free on Google Play.
So you can get that on your desktop, or is that just strictly for your cell phone?
It's strictly for the cell phone, as far as I can tell. So anyway,
Okay.
what it does is it will track your new followers, your unfollowers, and your recently followed, and your, all these different metrics that you can actually look at that you can't look at or know about with Twitter alone. You must have this third-party app in order to see these things. So I go to Crowdfire and I'm like, okay, what's going on? Well, it turns out I was getting it wasn't that people were following me less. It's that I was getting an unusual amount of new unfollowers.
Okay.
That raised
really,
some eyebrows.
Right.
So I started checking into these. You would be shocked. Guys, listen, this is weird, and you gotta hear this, because if you don't know this is gonna be a surprise to you. I noticed a lot of new unfollowers were big Trump supporters that would say hashtag MAGA in their
I saw that too. Yeah.
Trump this, Trump is the best. We support Trump, blah, 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 all this. And these are people that unfollowed me. They would have a couple thousand people following them, and they were following zero. And they just
that happened to me too on my account recently.
A lot of people. So I'm like, are these people closing their account? Why would they be following me, and now they're following nobody?
Right. This is the first time. It sounds like I'm surprised. This is the very first time we've talked together about this in detail.
Right. So you're hearing us have a very
intimate,
a fluid exchange of ideas. So anyway, that's our edginess. We're edgy. We're progressive. Whoa! No, I mean
fake news. What do you think?
So anyway, I'm like, wait a minute. Who are these people that are following nobody now? They have like a couple thousand followers, and they were following me. Now they're not, and they're not following anybody. Are they literally dumping everybody? Are they closing their account? Are they idiots that think that it's better to have an account that you're not following anybody?
See, and that's, and I when I first started the Twitter, I was like, Gary, dude, I'm not gonna follow nobody.
I'm gonna be like Trump and have 102 people that I'm following.
Yeah, 102. I'm following 102 and
8 million.
Millions.
8 million.
Right.
Yeah, whatever he's got. 15 million. I don't know how many are following him.
And then Carrie burst my bubble and said, "Bro, you're not famous enough for that," which is true.
Right. So we're just doing it the traditional way, and there's a lot of people out there that have about the same amount of people that they are following that are following them.
Drudge Report, Drudge_report. I think millions of followers, and he follows zero. But it's a reporting outlet, though. There's something to that. He's got branding. of sorts.
It's the place. They're using it for something specific.
Right.
They don't need to be following anybody, or at least you wouldn't think. Maybe their editors do on their own personal account, but not the Drudge Report actual Twitter handle. So anyway, I said, you know what? I got to get to the bottom of this, because there were days where I would have 40 new followers and 42 new unfollowers for a net loss of 2 followers on the day. And I'm like, what is going on here? So I decided I'm going to go and reach out to every single new unfollower, including the ones that are following zero.
Right.
And I would start to tweet them. And some of you guys that follow me on Twitter may have actually seen some of my attempts to reach out to these people. Some of them started quietly following me back. And the ones that have zero, nothing. No response from them people at all. So I was like, okay, so what is the hypothesis here? The hypothesis is that these people, the election's over, and they're like, you know what? I'm going back to my regular life, and I'm getting out of the Trump game.
Right.
Which doesn't make any sense to me, because if we wanted to do that at Smith Radio, I would change my bio, and that's it. I wouldn't necessarily unfollow everybody.
Right.
That's like social media suicide or something. So these people were not responding back. And so I thought, maybe they're just getting out of the game. So finally, I started getting responses back from people who unfollowed me. And guess what? And these aren't the people that have zero.
I remember when you said you were going to check it out, and I was like, who cares?
You were probably thinking I was overreacting. There were probably a bunch of other people. There were probably followers that were looking at my tweets and saying, this guy's a crybaby.
Right.
Yeah. So, but I was like, no, something's not right here. Oh, by the way, if you go to analytics.twitter.com, you can get a lot of data about your Twitter account. And if you look at my following for like the past 28 days, it flatlines.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Right. I'm like, what is going on here? So anyway, so that was just a little bit more information for you that's very relevant. So finally I start getting feedback, and guess what these people are telling me? They're like, oh, I didn't know I unfollowed you.
Really?
Yes. These people, and guess what? I suspected that might be the case. I said, you know what? I wonder if Twitter is unfollowing these people on their behalf unbeknownst to them.
Oh, that's got to be rotten if it's true.
Well, finally, when I got that response back, I sent it to Cernovich, and he said, that's weird. And by the way, he's been having periscopes lately about the new round of Twitter bans. And the thing is I haven't really heard of people saying, yeah, I got banned, other than those that really kind of earned it. You know what I mean?
Right.
By actually. So I'm like, what are they really doing? I think that they introduced an algorithm to find Trump supporters and Trump followers and Trump, whatever, voters. And this is what I actually tweeted this out. This is on a text. How Twitter is cracking down on conservatives. And tell me what you think of this, Brian, if you haven't read this already. When someone unfollows you, the only way you would know is if you have a social media tool like Crowdfire. Okay, do we agree on that?
Correct.
You wouldn't know. If somebody unfollows you, you really don't know.
I accept the notifications on Crowdfire.
Okay.
I'm thinking about turning it off, but I have throughout the day, so-and-so just unfollowed you.
Oh, okay.
So-and-so
I don't
just
even have
unfollowed
those notifications. I actually
irritating.
log in periodically.
It's irritating.
You want to go and punch them.
It's irritating.
Okay. So we all agree that in general, for me anyway, because I don't have immediate notifications on that, I get a report of all the unfollowers per day.
Right.
But that's because I have Crowdfire. So without Crowdfire, if you don't have a social media tool, you would never know if somebody unfollowed you, right?
Right.
Now here's the second thing. If someone were to hack into your account, let's just say hypothetically, let's say I'm at Brian's house and I log into his computer and Twitter's up. His Twitter.
Right.
All right. If I were to unfollow somebody on Brian's Twitter account at his house while he's using the John, and he came back in, he would never know. Not only would he not know that he unfollowed somebody, if I told him that I unfollowed somebody, he would never figure out who it was.
I don't know. How do you get that back?
You wouldn't know who it was.
Yeah.
I would have to tell you, oh, it was your sister. I unfollowed her on your thing. And then you would have to go and find her and follow her back. But if I didn't tell you that information, you would never know.
I'd be gone forever.
All right. So you would never know.
Unless, like, there's been famous people I followed, and all of a sudden, I'm like, why am I not getting notifications? Because I got them on notifications.
Yeah.
And I'll go there, and I'm not following them.
Okay, well, why wouldn't you be following him if you followed him?
Right. With notifications.
Okay, so here is my theory. Twitter seems to be taking advantage of these two facts by using an algorithm that finds users who follow their targeted victim. Now, I'll give you an example. Let's say their targeted victim is Smith Radio. And let's say Joe Blow is following Smith Radio. So they would go to Joe Blow's Twitter account because their intended target is Smith Radio, and they would unfollow Smith Radio on Joe Blow's behalf, unbeknownst to Joe Blow. Does that make sense?
That makes complete sense.
If you have an unusually high number of unfollowers, especially those who don't follow you, then you've been targeted by Twitter. That's my theory. So I use Crowdfire, and I suggest use Crowdfire to reach out to those who unfollowed you and ask them why. Be polite and just say, hey, I noticed you just unfollowed me recently in the past couple days. Is it something I said? Can you give me some feedback? Let me know. I did that. And a lot of times nobody says anything, but the ones that have are like, oh, dude, my bad. I didn't know.
I had no idea.
No idea.
Well, I've mentioned it on the show, but this has been years ago where back in 2008, 2009, I was able to purchase a clone of Facebook.
Oh,
and start to create its own social networking, if you will. And the godlike power that you have.
It's amazing the amount of
that people don't. They not only I think not that they don't realize, but they don't want to know, and they want to believe that what they're seeing is secure and real.
It's like going into your bedroom and there's a mess in there, and you know that unless you let somebody in, it's pretty secure. Now imagine if you're not thinking about the fact that God is looking down into your room. All right?
Yeah. I'm talking godlike power. Yes.
Yes, that's literally what you get to do as the owner of a social media site. Because Brian had it.
So these people, these sites out there now, the accidental Facebook picture posts.
Okay.
Like people accidentally posted a picture on Facebook.
Hurried up and deleted
it or whatnot. Or
like a nude photo of themselves.
Right.
Or something. Like, oh my God.
Or there are people, the millennials would start to create groups of their pictures and then put it secure so nobody can see it.
Okay.
But just them or who they allow it to see it.
Okay.
Well, the glitch to that is if somebody has the link to that, there's no stopping them from seeing it.
Well, there's actually additional layers of security. Like
maybe now there is.
Like on YouTube, if you post a video, you can make it unlisted.
Correct.
That means you can only see it if you have a link. The problem with that is if somebody shared that link, is somebody that you gave privy information, you just, here's the link. And then they posted it on social media.
It's all over.
Everybody could see that.
Right.
But you could also post something on YouTube that is private, which is different than unlisted. That means that only those you specifically allow to see it can see it.
And the people that work at YouTube.
Everybody at YouTube.
Dude.
Or everybody that has access to the back office. The back end.
I'm saying right now that it's like back in the day when you would take a roll of 35 millimeter film.
Oh, and you go to
you could drop it off at the photo bug.
I used to think.
Photo bug.
Okay, so I used to think that
Do you know
that. I don't know about the photo bug.
It's that little house, little shack, and it looks like a bug, and it's in the parking lot of the grocery store.
See, I used to go to an actual photo place called Rite Aid. So, anyway.
You know, there is no Rite Aid in Cincinnati anymore. None.
What about Super X? What happened to Super X?
Circle K.
Well, there is Circle K.
Is it still around?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Gold Circle.
Whoa. Swallens, anybody?
Van Luden's.
Oh, my gosh. That was right up this. Yeah.
So when you dropped your 35 millimeter film to be developed, those dudes would see that and make copies for themselves. It's easy. Who's manning the ship here?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, well, I mean, if somebody...
I promise you. And so it's exponentially worse on the internet now because one single guy, Snowden, could have all kinds of information once let out of the back. Dude, once it hits the internet, it's all over with. And for those of you young kids listening to us right now, we have witnessed millennials destroying their reputation and their lives. I'm beside myself with some of these people that have put nude photos of themselves up and then committed suicide because of that it leaked out, that it went out, or other people at school that have gotten nude photos of them, like a girlfriend sends it to her boyfriend or vice versa, post that on the internet. Oh my God, the lives that have been destroyed. So take heed. Do not take selfies of nude self. Do not do it. Don't even allow it on your phone. That's how they got some hackers hacked into some famous celebrities' phones and got into their private photos, put it online. It's just it's a crazy world, and the people in the back end of the internet, like Mark Zuckerberg's and whoever's running YouTube, and then the Twitter thing. It's just they've got so much control. They're going to want to keep it, and they're going to do anything they can to keep it. And just like Bezos with Amazon, anything and everything he can do to keep that power. The amount of power held is just incredible, and it's always weird. How does it that these guys wind up being liberal sycophant Democrats? How is it? They completely rape and pillage the system of capitalism any which way they can, make hundreds of millions, and then use that to destroy the system, to close the door that they used for anybody else to come up through the ranks. Is it just maybe a short-sighted view on my part?
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
I mean, that pretty much sums that up.
Whew.
Yeah. So the thing, just to wrap up about Twitter, it's what they're doing. Actually, Bill Mitchell tweeted out two things today that I think are important. You cannot get into a fight with a liberal on Twitter because they will find something in that fight, that long thread, that 12-hour long thread, because you just had to get in the last word.
We never do that.
When I was new at Twitter, that's what I used it for, to win debates.
Yeah, because it's fun to win, right?
Yeah. So there's a guy, a hardcore conservative constitutionalist guy, but he was a cruise crew never Trumper named Thomas Paine. He still won't follow. He blocked me a long time ago, mainly because I obliterated him in a debate between Cruz, Trump, who should we be backing, all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And I just completely obliterated him, and he couldn't take losing anymore, and he blocked me.
Any negative, like when you rate our Facebook page at Smith Radio, look at the ones that are either 5-star or a couple 1-stars.
Okay.
And if you look at all the 1-star ratings, they are all Cruz crew never Trumpers.
Oh, they're so annoying. They did not. They were a net loss. I'm sorry. And I like Cruz. I don't think he's eligible to be senator or president. That's
Correct.
a shame because I do think that he has a lot of good ideas with regards to how to run a constitutional republic. I think it's great. I think we need more people like Ted Cruz.
Not the crew.
But the Cruz crew just had it all wrong. They had it dead wrong from the start, and I'm sorry if you were one of those people. If you're one of those people and now you're on the Trump train, you're fine. You ended up in the right place.
My dad was down with Cruz. And originally,
my dad was too.
Originally, Car Ferrari, and after Car Ferrari got a check from Cruz crew, or Cruz, not the crew. Anyway, so our parents were on board with Ted Cruz, and we would talk civilly. It's no big deal. Talk about it, and coming down to the wire, all that stuff that started coming out about him, it just wasn't going to work out. And then you saw the momentum that Trump had, and it was all over with in Indiana. Thank you, Indiana. But yeah, so we are talking about the impending possible. We're going to jump into the Civil War. I mean, it's part of the title of the show.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I kept on thinking to myself that things are happening that if they escalate, it could end up in some violence that results in death. It's interesting with all the rioting and stuff like that. No, people are starting to take for granted that this could be deadly.
Yeah, they're taking to the streets and rioting as if, we'll wake up tomorrow like a day never happened, and do it all over again.
Yeah, and obviously the ones that are on the receiving end of the rioting, that are it's unbeknownst to them that a riot's going to break out.
Right.
They are worried. They're fearful for their life and their safety and all this kind of stuff. They don't want to get hurt or get punched in the face. There was one guy that about the closest we had to a death was the guy that was knocked out cold in the street and people were kicking him. And
man.
Wherever that was, there's so many riots in so many different places on a weekly basis now. You don't even know. Austin's a big one today. So
somebody just posted ice sweep in downtown LA. I don't know if that's
okay. So let's talk about that for a second before we just call this full blown civil war, because we can make the case after we talk about all the things that happened this week. But one thing I want to get off my chest: if you guys have been listening to us for a long time, you have heard me talk about, at least in one episode, we had a nice long monologue about our feelings about deportation and illegal immigrants and what does it mean to a president who is against illegal immigration. And I can't remember exactly when we had that discussion, but I would think it was sometime during the primary. And one of the things we said during that episode was, guys, they are not going to go door to door, breaking down the door and dragging people out of the house that they think are illegal or know are illegal, throw them in a paddy wagon, drive across the border, and kick them out like a dump truck.
No, it's not going to happen.
We said that. And we said the reason is because, number one, it's just inhumane. In fact, we made the case on this show on at least more than one, like 2 or 3 occasions, that amnesty is definitely going to be a fact in America, because anything other than amnesty is going to be so inhumane. And the case was made because, and I'll give you the short version, there are people that have been here for so long that they now have 3 generations of descendants under them who are all legal U.S. citizens thanks to the very ill-conceived, 14th Amendment that allows anybody born on U.S. soil to be a natural-born citizen.
Well, if you read it, the Emancipation Proclamation, the 14th Amendment, it allowed former slaves on American soil.
That was what it's for.
To become citizens, yet you've got activist judges and liberal nut jobs, Democrats that know, if we get these people in, they'll vote for us because we're going to give them more money. It's what Caesar did during Rome's era. That's why Caesar was killed, because he was handing out free stuff to get people to come vote for him.
Yeah, that's annoying.
So that's what Democrats are doing, and they're like, we need fresh new voters, fresh new handouts. Where are we going to get them from?
Right.
Anchor babies.
Yeah, and these are people that not only are not U.S. citizens and really haven't done the basic things that would earn what you would call benefits and all that kind of stuff.
Let me know when I can play the video or the audio.
It's coming up. Cue it up, dude. But also, these people don't even like America.
That's the whole point.
And to prove our point, right before we play, we got to play the audio of a guy. It's a black man, young. It's not very old. He's a black man, and it's emotional to him because I don't think he's poor. In fact, I think he's a semi-famous rapper. But he's for the video's taken in a looks like an apartment,
or in his living room.
Yeah, I mean, the point is you could tell this guy probably has a lot of current family members and friends that are probably really poor. This guy's probably just now making his come up. I don't really know the background on this guy other than that apparently he's some sort of a rapper. But he sounds like a patriot.
Grammy nominee, songwriter, constitutionalist, political and religious philosopher.
Well, if he's Grammy nominated, he's more than just semi-famous.
Right.
That's full blown. Right. But what's his name? Do you have it? Or no?
Vinny James.
Vinny James. All right.
And you can go to him at real Vinny James.
This is how Vinny James, a black man, feels about foreigners coming in and what the government is doing for them.
Free cigarettes and groceries and send them on their way. But if an Islamic woman ever get caught with another man outside of her race, whether he be black or whether he be white, they gonna cut her head off. And y'all want to let these motherfuckers over here talking about we need to embrace them. Fuck them. They don't fuck with us, and we ain't fucking with them. Go Trump. I get emotional about this shit. I'm sick of this shit. Motherfuckers in Detroit ain't even got nowhere to stay. Homeless people on the street, and y'all want to get these motherfuckers money. Y'all want to give them cars. Y'all want to give them businesses and shit, and they don't even like America for real. They get their money and send their shit back over there. Them.
That's how it goes. And if you have ever visited SoCal, Southern California, I lived out there for a decade. Being out there, you would be shocked, just amazed. It is not America out there. It doesn't even look like America.
If you listen,
and they send their money back to Mexico, back to Guatemala, back to Honduras.
Everybody knows, but if you listen to this guy, Vinny, is that his name?
Yeah, Vinny.
Vinny has seen this stuff with his own eyes for probably his whole life, where people that he lives with, that he grew up with, that are family members and friends and all this, either are or know people that are just struggling to survive and to stay off the streets and to just do something to earn enough money to have something to show for their life. And the one entity that could help them, or maybe not, or maybe get out of their way, or stop taking from them, stop pillaging from them, they show that they do have an endless well of money by dumping it all over foreigners, bringing them in, or encouraging them to come on their own, and taking care of them to a degree that is just completely unacceptable to Vinny.
And
rightfully so.
Yeah, unacceptable to me as well. I mean, I'm...
Well, it's more unacceptable to him because, like us, I sometimes forget that, he didn't even mention veterans. All the homeless people that pull out their chunk of cardboard to write on it, please helping it. They're all veterans. All the homeless people begging for money on the street corners in Cincinnati are at least they claim to be veterans. They may be lying, but I generally tend to give them a benefit of the doubt, imagine that they really are a vet. Maybe I'm just naive, but the point is that our vets struggle. Our vets look at the way they're treated in the one program that I feel that they have earned. If you're told, you get to go to the VA for the rest of your life, if you're a veteran, then you earn that. That's part of being or signing on the dotted line that you're going to pledge your life for 4 years to defend America, serve your country, and part of that is that you get VA benefits for the rest of your life or whatever.
Right.
And it's atrocious. The VA benefits are a joke in a lot of cases because it's been ignored by the government. Meanwhile, they're so aggressive and excited about doing so much for foreigners who have no need, or when I say need, obviously it's going to benefit them to be here rather than not be here. But there's no moral obligation on any American's part to have them here.
No. Well, and when you invite somebody, go ahead and invite somebody into your house that you don't know, that don't care about you.
And I tweeted that too.
And we'll go through your closet and your cabinets and your food and your groceries, and then all of a sudden, maybe even not even use flush the toilet, and they're out. They're gone.
Mark Dice. Didn't he do one where, it might have been Mark Dice, where he went around and asked people if they were willing to sign up to sponsor a refugee by letting them stay in their house.
I would imagine the numbers would be staggeringly low.
They were asking this specifically of supporters of the refugees and the illegal immigrants and all that stuff. And they're all like, well, I got to check with the old wifey, but I doubt it. Because she's not going to want it. I got a disabled brother-in-law that lives with us.
Hey, I'm outdoors, Can I stay with you a couple, 3 days or so? Oh, no, got to ask the wife.
He come back
to the door and he had a look on his face. He said, nah, man, she kind of funny. I said, no, everybody funny. Now you funny too.
Oh, George Thorogood. Man, that's some good stuff.
Dude,
there.
when you're down and out like that, the preacher at our church this morning, he brought this. They've been dancing on some political edges at my church.
Well, hopefully, if Trump keeps his campaign promise, they'll be able to say whatever the hell they want on top of it.
They should be allowed to. But he mentioned today in church that, and he talked about it and showed it in the Bible where God said to Peter, don't alienate these people, bring them all in. And then he gave an example. He said, I've got a friend that I know. His son wants to marry a black woman, and they're all Christians. The black woman's Christian. They're all Christians, yet the parents are having problems with that.
Which parents?
Of the white kid.
Okay.
And just friends of his. And then another one, some folks at another church, he said that their son is wanting to date a girl. They're all Christians, but she's the P word.
P word?
Poor.
What?
And I'm going to have to confess. I absolutely have to confess. If my son brought a girl to the house and she was unkempt, that's one thing.
What do you mean unkempt? I have to look up that word. What is that?
If she's disheveled.
I love that word.
If things disheveled. Are just falling apart, I'm going to look at him and say, brah, does she need to get a shower? I mean, there's a towel in the, whatever. But if she's poor, this is my son. If he's dating a girl that's poor, but wants to make a comment, she understands there's more out there. I don't have a problem with that.
What if she's cash me outside ghetto?
God, that's going to be very difficult. However,
cash me outside. We need that.
On the flip of that, my daughter.
Okay.
I'm not saying she can't date a poor guy. What I'm saying, she won't date a poor guy.
How do you know?
Her standards are going to be higher. She's going to know that is your...
Well, how would you know whether or not he's poor if she's like 16 and he's 17?
Well, that's different. I'm talking in their 20s. Like, he's like...
But nobody... wealth gains over time. Like, my dad was broke.
Okay, so if he's like 30.
Yeah, my dad was broke at 30.
And did he have a car?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it didn't have a radio.
But he had a living
quarters.
Did he live with his parents?
No.
Okay.
Are you talking about the car? The car had a living
I understand where the preacher was coming from, how he was laying that out. And yes, we can't alienate people, but I'm going to put a caveat on that.
Oh, wow. So he's saying if she's black, no.
Something,
What are you saying? What's the caveat?
Something was thrown out to me about that years ago. They said if you had a daughter and she wanted to marry a black guy, how'd you feel? And I responded very quickly. I said, well, if he's a successful businessman and he got his head on his shoulder, I'd love it. Bring him in.
Right.
I got no problem.
Yeah, I mean, my sister's married to a black man.
Right.
So
Who's extremely successful, and he's an awesome guy.
He's a successful capitalist businessman.
Wow.
So, yeah, we're really proud of him. So,
on that note, this article that kind of goes and coincides with Vinny and with what's going on with his immigrants and everybody coming in from. It's a shame. It's a shame is what it is. But this is from the Washington Times. So be prepared. The numbers will be skewed.
wait, Washington Times. Washington Post is the one that's
the
fake.
Compost. I'm thinking, okay.
Yeah, the Washington Post is fake news. Washington Times, the jury's out.
Okay. So be prepared. The numbers. But here's the article posted. This article was posted by Savage on Twitter. And I follow him, so I got it. But Washington Times, State Department has more than doubled the rate of refugees from Iraq, Syria, and other suspected countries in the week since a federal judge reprieve. And what analysts said appears to be a push to admit as many people as possible before another court puts the program back on ice. 77% of the 1,100 refugees let in since Judge James L. Robart's February 3rd order are from those seven. They are on the banned list. 77% of 1,100.
Okay, and just as a caveat, the Washington Post is defines itself as the Washington Times defines itself as a conservative news outlet.
Okay.
So Washington Times. Now, I'm not saying that means it's good and true, because we know that Fox News has some issues, and they are very, very much considered conservative by almost universally. But they have some issues because Trump has been a target of a lot of different shows and actual commentators and hosts and whatnot on Fox News.
Right, when the owner of Fox News is a Democrat.
Is he?
A lib. I believe so.
Okay.
I mean, they let Shep Smith wear eyeliner. I mean, go figure.
Yeah, Shep Smith has definitely fallen off the boat. When they hired Geraldo Rivera and Juan Williams. Is he Hispanic? Juan?
I'm not sure. Bob Beckel is back on.
Oh,
did you hear that?
Gosh.
I thought he was dead.
From heroin?
Yeah.
Well, I could see that.
Have you seen him on the 5 at times where he looks clearly, visibly impaired?
Visually impaired?
Like my eyes are looking at him and I feel like I'm impaired. No, he looks impaired.
Okay, all right.
Like they've even asked him.
I've heard him slur before, but that might be something different. I don't know. So anyway, the Times.
Yeah, so Washington Times reporting that since February 3rd, 1,100 refugees have come into this country. The big, massive push continues to bring them in. Now, something that we've talked about before, and I've heard from other talk show hosts, but it's absolutely true. There are people in the departments everywhere throughout government that are fighting Trump tooth and nail because they are the opposition party. They are, the mainstream media type Democrats. They rely on MSM, the opposition party, to help them push their agenda.
Right.
You've got activist judges. And we even heard this during Obama's reign of terror, that throughout the entire 8 years, Obama was installing judges in the attempts to solidify the coup.
Yeah, I actually learned that from Mark Levin.
Okay.
Mark Levin reported, I believe it was sometime late in the primary, about just how much damage was done with the appointments all over the entire United States. It was like 300 appointments of justices across all these different courts across the land. And we had lost the country. It had been defeated by communism, just like we feared in a possible World War III situation.
And I wasn't quite sure how this was going to go once Trump was elected, although I could have assumed, the media is going to fight him tooth and nail. Okay, that's going to be the norm. We saw it with Bush. And now you've got people on the inside fighting him tooth and nail. And, he had to fire the Department of Justice that was, I guess, a transitional headpiece. He had to fire her right away when he initially came out with a travel ban, not a Muslim ban, a travel ban. There are many, many Muslim countries that can still come to America, like Saudi Arabia. They're not on the ban list.
And that's an issue because
they need to be.
This is definitely something that I didn't take seriously because it seemed like it was very Alex Jones-esque, but
real tinfoil hat type thing.
Right. It turns out, what was it, a year ago or 2 years ago? It had been confirmed 100%. This is real news fact that the Saudi Arabian government had a big role in 9/11, which to me constitutes it's Pearl Harbor,
right,
where the government of Japan ordered the attack on Pearl Harbor. Well, the reason why we never, like, World War III wasn't full-blown started because of 9/11 was because there was no government attached to the attack on 9/11. They would say, this 19 ragtag hijackers that were training in this land that pretty much is without government, which was Afghanistan.
And 19 lone wolves.
Yeah, right. 19 lone wolves, all this stuff. Well, come to find out, we find this out over a decade later, that Saudi Arabia, the government, the actual country of Saudi Arabia can be considered the country that attacked us on 9/11.
And if you have Netflix, go on Netflix. It is still up. I saw it yesterday. It's called, the name of the documentary is called Saudi Arabia Uncovered. You will lose your mind with they go undercover into Saudi Arabia, and they even state that if we are caught with this cell phone videotaping, you will never see or hear from us again.
Wow.
And they film different areas and what's going on. There's beheadings by police right there in the middle of the street. They'll pull somebody over and chop their head off right there in the middle of the street. Public beatings and
their public executions are really.
They got thought police too.
Really scary.
They've got these thought police that walk and roam malls and public venues, berating and chastising women for not behaving up to some more of a standard, or maybe they just feel like beating up on women. And then they even go through an area called Chop Chop Square. It's about the size of a football field, and it's all cobblestone with drains, big giant sewer drains in the middle of the square, sporadically scattered. And the reason why I call it Chop Chop Square is because that's where they do all the beheadings.
Wow.
They got to have those drains, drain all that stuff. Saudi Arabia, in my mind, from what I've seen and what I've heard, in my mind, Saudi Arabia is the host country to ISIS, Al-Qaeda, all the bad terrorists.
Well, if there was ever a caliphate, the Mecca would be the capital of the new country.
Okay.
Yeah, flat out. Saudi Arabia would be the capital state of the new caliphate. the new Ottoman Empire,
right?
Certainly, and they would. That's it. They would want that. They would want Mecca, maybe Jerusalem, maybe that would be more of a hey, stick it in the eye of the other religions,
right?
But certainly Mecca, I mean, that's where their thing is.
And not to get off on tangents, but the reason why we brought up Saudi Arabia is because they should be on the banned terror watch list as well. But according to State Department, according to the Washington Times, the State Department is jamming through as many refugees as they possibly can because they're probably appointed. Their job was given to them by Obama, and they're on a mission to do what they got to do. Kind of like the mission of the three little brothers that we didn't know so well.
Well, you want to play that?
Because it started way back in
Guys,
history.
this is going to blow your mind, and I wish I knew more, and I wish I knew where to learn more. But Brian tried to do a little research, and he showed me what came up on the search results.
It ain't coming up. Nobody's
The staff at Google has been ordered by the highest-ranking officials at Google to scrub the entire internet of this shocking news. If you've been in the military or if you have ever worked in the government, particularly if you've either had or know about what it means to have a secret security clearance.
Oh, yeah.
You are going to throw up in your mouth, and you are going to, your eyes are going to have blood shooting out of it. Your ears are going to have blood shooting out of it. You're going to have blood shooting out of wherever.
I mean, even when we left the military, we had to sign a document saying they could come back on us for the next 50 years.
Yeah, something like that. So play this. What show is this on?
This is from Varney. If you
Varney,
want
okay.
really good news, folks, there's a couple of great shows on Fox Business. One is Varney and Company. He's on in the morning. And then my favorite, the evening show, my favorite is Lou Dobbs. I love Lou Dobbs. Just solid guy. But this is Varney and Company, and he's got a couple of guests that are talking about the Muslim situation here.
3 congressional IT, information technology, IT employees have been fired for accessing members' computer networks without permission. Maria's on the show, knows more about this. Can you fill me in a little bit?
Here are their names, Stuart. Let me tell you what the 3 people who were fired on Thursday. Abid, Imran, and Jamal Awan. They were barred from computer networks at the House of Representatives on Thursday because they accessed congressmen and congresspeople's computer networks unauthorized. At a minimum, they were fired. They haven't been arrested yet. At a minimum, we know that they accessed computers unauthorized, and they did so in foreign intelligence, foreign affairs, and intelligence committees.
Okay, hold on. She said they have been fired but not arrested yet. How are you fired? For literally, it's espionage. Is this espionage?
Well, every time you've ever heard of something similar to this in a regular business, let alone government, usually you're escorted out by security. But if there was anything illegal involved, you'd be escorted out in cuffs. In fact, there was a rumor about a certain high school here in Cincinnati where the principal was suddenly fired.
Was it the principal or just a teacher?
It was a principal.
Okay.
And the rumor was that he was let out in handcuffs. Which that can't be good.
No, that's always bad.
That's always bad. Were these guys let out in handcuffs?
No, apparently not. They have not been arrested, but have been fired. Imagine if you worked for General Electric or Siemens or some big giant firm that has international business, and you were caught doing this. Listen to me right now, folks. The FBI would be involved.
Wow.
There is no question about it. So, okay, back to the clip.
Okay, so they were getting very important information, government information. They access these computers. That is the least of it. There's also some talk that people are looking into what ties they have to terrorism.
Oh my God!
Are they impacted by the Muslim Brotherhood? Are they a part of the Muslim Brotherhood? One of them has a criminal background.
Why would they? First of all, why would they even be doing this stuff as Muslims, as young Muslims? What is their motive? What is their motive?
They have to have a motive. There's a reason for there are three brothers.
You don't show up to your $165,000 a year job to do things to get yourself fired for no reason.
She didn't let that out the bag yet. By the way, folks, Yeah, 22 years old.
Yeah, you're going to find that out.
All right.
Couple of questions here. How is it possible that 3 brothers are hired, Muslim brothers, just saying, to work in Congress and deal with our most intelligent and sensitive information, number one? They were all making $160,000.
Is that ironic that 3 brothers, each being paid $160K
working in
apiece?
the IT of, what was it, Congress?
Yeah.
IT of Congress. You know, there's a little bit of systemic racism, if you will. If you're hiring somebody to be your computer guy,
Right.
and they sound like the Indian guy from the movie Short Circuit, you're going to be like, oh, this is exactly who I want.
Right.
Because this guy's going to know all about computers. So, do you think that's what it was? Like, oh, these guys are Middle Eastern types. Yeah, listen to their accents. These guys have got to know everything about computers.
Something I was thinking about when she said $160K a piece. This is reported by NPR, U.S. News. I believe it's also on Wikipedia and usgovinfo.com. It's well known, Senate.gov. It's well documented the salaries that congressmen make and senators make. This right here by NPR, which is a shill for the government, congressmen lament, meaning they're not happy, and they're saying that $174,000 a year isn't enough to make ends meet. So congressmen get paid $174K. These possible spies, terrorists, something possible, we're making 160, non-elected. 160. It smells like something's wrong here.
Absolutely.
Why were they paid so much? 22 years old. One of the guys was. The other was 25. They're making
Okay, so Hunter, I remember when I worked at GE, a senior engineer. This would be somebody who is in charge of an entire cubicle farm of engineers. Those jobs were going for 150, and this was like 10, 15 years ago. So,
but the amount of education, knowledge,
and experience,
you
would
absolutely
not even be offered this position unless you had already been an engineer at the company for probably, I would say, at least 12 to 15 years.
Right. I was going to say over 10, right.
Yeah, and I'm going a little on the low side. And then you could probably start to apply for this $150,000 a year job of senior engineer. These guys were 22.
My dad worked as an engineer, over engineers, at a company that wasn't as big as GE, but they did a lot of work. He was there for 42 years. And 42 years as an engineer, one of the head engineers, they built a completely different building, an entire building for all the engineers. Called it the Tech Center. He was pretty much the head of the Tech Center, an entire building. Nowhere near did he make $160 a year.
And
in 42 years.
Me to hear that. Doesn't surprise me to hear that at all. That's just this whole idea of making over $100,000 a year, regardless of what city you live in or what the expenses are around that. You're talking about somebody that's an older gentleman with a lot of experience and a lot of proven leadership in that field, a very, very impressive resume with regards to their educational background.
Divorced, has a 2-seater Mercedes-Benz convertible, cruises the strip on.
They're on their third wife.
Still has the 2-seater though. Maybe even the 2-seater brand new Corvette convertible.
Right. They definitely got the Beamer from 1985. The smaller one, you know,
right.
that thing is a classic.
Is that the Z3 or something?
No, it's like a whatever. I don't remember.
M3.
No, well, you're thinking of the 2-seater. Right. I'm talking about the Yuppie Mobile. It's like a 4-door. You might have been available.
Almost like a Volvo box kind of car.
Yeah, very boxy.
Yeah.
And the front, you know how like when you look at the front of a car where the grill is?
Yeah.
It's kind of slanted down towards the ground.
Yeah.
This particular model era of it's slanted up towards the sky.
It is.
Yes.
It's literally the hood would hit you before the bumper.
I guess. What if you're? Oh, you mean if you run into somebody?
Yeah, if you run into.
You mean if a yuppie plowed you?
Right.
The top of the hood is going to hit you before the bumper.
If you got plowed by a yuppie.
Right, and you do not want to get plowed by a yuppie.
160,000, 161,000, and 165,000.
Okay.
161, 160, and 165. I'm thinking some of these brothers have a little bit better negotiation skills than the others. Because that would have made me mad. Like, wait a minute, you make $5,000 more a year than I do?
Imagine him being the younger brother making more than.
That's how it always works.
It always works.
They're probably triplets.
And one of them has a criminal background. How does this happen?
Devil.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, these intelligence committees handle our terror strategies, right?
They got information on Benghazi,
and
too, by the way.
And it looks like they also work for many Democrats in these houses.
Good God.
They are thinking that maybe they could be also one of the people, one of the reasons that Debbie Wasserman Schultz's account was hacked.
Yeah.
So there's so much more to come on this too. This is an incredible story. I think it's amazing.
So she's saying that that was Maria something or other, the little you know what I'm talking about, the Italian woman. You didn't see the video?
No, I did see the video. The Italian woman.
Well, her name's Maria. She's got to be Italian.
Man.
Anywho,
Italian Americans are gonna love that one.
Whatever, they know. Either it's Maria or Tony. I mean,
Toni.
No. The man. If it's a man, it's Tony. If it's a woman, it's Maria.
Hey, Tony. Hey, Tony.
Maria.
Yeah, I could see that.
Anyway.
Why are they always yelling?
I know. Always yelling. Anyway. So, no, she said that these people could be either behind or somehow responsible for or involved with the DNC leaks of Hillary Clinton and Debbie Wasserman Schultz emails. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm just...
Well, everybody knows who's in the know that is not influenced by fake news, that the DNC leaks were definitely done by Vladimir Putin personally. That's fake news. No. They were done by an insider.
Right, because everybody was reporting this, and when they're coming out with the CNN, and CNN is the only one beating down them and BuzzFeed coming out with
CNN fake news. What do you think?
Oh yeah,
good old Bernie.
That's exactly what I think. So, by the way, thank you, Mr. Producer, throwing this up in our face. That was Maria Bartiromo.
Oh, I love that pronunciation.
And Liz McDonald.
Okay,
and they call her Mac. I think they call her Mac. Elizabeth McDonald. She's these women are extremely, and this is what the left hates. I'm sorry, I gotta throw this out. I love how intelligent Republican conservative women are. It's a huge turn on. I'm sorry.
This is probably not appropriate to say over the air, but I'm going to say it.
Throw it out there.
So Brian and I are going to be going to CPAC, and there is I guess it's a closed group on Facebook for CPAC volunteers, and you're supposed to go to that and be a part of that group,
right?
So I said, well, let me go to each and every one of these people and request to friend them on Facebook. Yeah, you don't see social justice warriors looking like that. Some of them are pretty easy on the eyes, if you will.
Well, sweet. And let me tell you, the hate that comes from the left,
it makes them look less attractive.
Oh, my goodness.
Dude, negative, hateful behavior. I don't care if you're drop dead gorgeous at first glance. When you start behaving like that, you look very, very unattractive.
Oh, absolutely. And they even say that the anger and hate, if you get really upset about something, I mean, really upset about something, it destroys your cells inside your body. It actually starts to break
so you're
down.
saying that they physically, it's not just an optical illusion.
You absolutely can bring on the destruction of your own body with anger.
I'm trying to come up with an example in my head, and I don't know why I can't come up with one, of a girl who everybody universally believes is hot as all get out, that I find extremely unattractive because of their personality. And I know there's there's one not clicking right off the top of my head. Maybe it's because I really am so unattracted to some of them that I
was so enraged when I heard that from Seinfeld.
Oh yeah, what's her name? Whatever her name is.
Julie Louis-Dreyfus.
Yeah, Dreyfus. Yeah.
I was
that girl is
irritated.
Like a 10. But what is she, an SJW?
Oh yeah, definitely a Democrat lib.
Man.
It's just angry. And then you have to flip the switch, turn it off, and move on.
Yeah.
Anyways, Liz McDonald, Maria Bartiromo.
You've got to learn how to pronounce that because that's just not acceptable.
On Varney Company, and those are major contributors to his show, very highly regarded for their intellect and their work ethics. So conservative women, that's a shout out to y'all. Just keep being tough. So where do you go with this? I mean, who's reporting this? Who's talking about these three
this has been buried.
Muslim brothers?
You've got to listen. You've got to find out about this. 3 Muslim brothers. They're working in IT and Congress, and they have been dumping these are the Muslim Edward Snowdens times 3.
Well, yeah, and they're worse than the Snowden because Snowden, for all intents and purposes, had good intent.
At least, time has shown that I think that he would be considered.
Well, he's a whistleblower. Yeah. He wanted to expose all the corruption, all the badness, all the evil, but he did it in a really wrong way.
Now, Chelsea Manning is a traitor because Chelsea Manning he had the wrong motive. He wanted to hurt
You said he?
Bradley.
You said he? How dare you?
Oh, how dare me. I've just triggered Brian.
I'm feeling triggered. Oh. So Bradley changed to Chelsea? Is it Chelsea?
Just Chelsea.
It's not Chelsea?
You're probably trying to overpronounce the letters because Chelsea is spelled with EA at the end.
Right, and wanted government to fund the transition.
Yeah, well, because he's in prison. He is in prison.
She.
Maybe he's trying to change into a woman to avoid being raped because everybody's trying to get... Yeah. Brian's got this look on his face like, did I just go...
So now that we've sideswiped the abutment...
Oh, wow.
We got T-boned by an oncoming abutment.
Oh, wow. Jeez, oh, Pete. I can't even visualize that.
So... this is all having to do, and we're talking about the impending civil war, part 2, if you will, part due, by the activist judges, Men in Black, as Mark Levin book, as he writes about activist judges changing America from within. The Ninth Circus Court of Appeals, as it's commonly referred to, because it is a circus. The Democrats always go to that specific Ninth Circuit Court because they know that they will side with them
even when they're wrong.
Even when they're wrong. Not only they're wrong, but they're wrong about the written law. So Trump has written law. There is law that gives Trump this ability to executive order a travel ban, a temporary, I think it was supposed to be 90-day, just a temporary 3-month, 4-month hold on new immigrants and those with visas that are outside the country attempting to come back, to put a hold on them till we can figure out what's going on. And Hannity and a lot of people have been passing this around. This is the actual U.S. code. It's 8 U.S. Code 1182, and it's titled Inadmissible Aliens.
Okay, so you're not admitting them into the country.
And this pertains to Trump and the travel ban. So he put the travel ban in place. Then a leftist nutjob tried to overturn it. Then Trump did another thing to put it back into play. And then now the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals reviewed. Trump said, while they're reviewing this, while this is going to the Supreme Court, while this is being reviewed, we want it in play. Kind of like, that'd be a bad example. I was going to go with O.J. Simpson.
What?
Like if you are accused of a crime, because the Democrats are accusing Trump of a crime.
Okay.
Okay. If you're accused of a crime and you're arrested for it, you post bail and you can stay out of jail while you go to court.
Okay.
This is the way I explained it to some other folks. This is exactly what's happened. Trump said this needs to stay out of jail, be implemented while you Democrats are trying to fight us in court over it.
Okay.
Well, I went to the Ninth Circus, and the two Utes that attempted to have to be working for insiders, Democrats.
Paid by George Soros.
Yeah, the two ignorant pseudo-law people things that presented their case to the Ninth Circuit to let this remain in play did not even recite what I'm going to read to you, which is the law.
All right, let's hear the law, and then I will, because I haven't read the actual word-for-word text, but I want to hear it from Brian, and then we can make our opinions. We could formulate opinions based on facts.
Right, so Trump wants this out while they're reviewing it. However, this law says they shouldn't even be reviewing it, and here's the law. It goes as this: suspension of entry or imposition of restrictions by the President of the United States. Whenever the President finds that the entry of any alien or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States, he may, by proclamation or executive order, and for such a period as he shall deem necessary, for as long as he wants, suspend the entry of all aliens or any class of aliens as immigrants or non-immigrants, or impose on the entry of aliens any restrictions he may deem to be appropriate.
Okay, based on what Brian just said there, I cannot think of a single thing they could do to stop Trump from doing any kind of any ban on immigration or even, what about refugee? Because I don't think it says, it does say immigration.
It says immigrants or non-immigrants. Non-immigrants would be refugees.
This almost covers everything except for one thing. It only applies to aliens. So if you're like a Muslim U.S. citizen that's outside of the country, this wouldn't apply to you. You would definitely be let back in the country.
Yeah, and that was stated. If you are a citizen, this doesn't apply to you.
Okay.
This doesn't apply to citizens.
Well, Democrats are making the argument that Muslims who leave the country are not being allowed back in.
Correct. And they're calling it a Muslim ban.
Muslim Americans. I'm talking about actual U.S. citizens here that happen to be Muslim are not allowed back in. Particularly if they are like ethnic, they look like a Middle Eastern man.
What?
Or woman.
What does that mean?
Well, they could be Middle Eastern. They could be from Egypt. Or what was one of the countries on the ban? Is it Egypt? Libya, whatever.
Should be Egypt.
Let's say Libya. You could have
Syria.
been born in Libya, come to America, and become a citizen. legally. Then, as somebody who's got the thick accent because English is your second language, and you're a Muslim, let's just say, go back to your home country and then try to fly back.
Oh, just like there was a man that was born in Kenya.
Really? Who would? Could you tell me more about this Kenyan?
And his mother was an American citizen.
Okay.
So they claimed he was born in Hawaii.
Is that how they pronounce it?
Correct. And which gave him anchor baby status.
Okay. Did he look like an anchor, or did they toss him over a boat?
Well, if you watch the one Bugs Bunny cartoon with Yosemite Sam,
oh, that one.
so
man.
wrong. That's so wrong.
Wow.
So, and then become president of the United States of America as a foreign. You go back to your Muslim brotherhood and you train as a Muslim, Islam, and how we got to bring down the West.
Mm-hmm, right.
Then you come back to America and become the president in order to take down said country.
And very close to doing it.
Correct.
Very close.
Correct.
In fact,
well, he's got the civilians on the brink of civil war against each other over something that's just made up. It's fake.
Well, so basically, U.S. Code 8, or I should say 8 U.S. Code 1182, under F, I'd like to see A through G. B, C, D, E. Oh, A through E. I had to do my alphabet there.
See, we were good at math and we could speak correctly, but
He said speaks.
when it comes to those letters,
yeah, the old alphabet. I had to actually sing it real quick in my head. So, it's called inadmissible aliens. Now, does this apply to humans?
Dude, I love it when Democrats say that. They're not aliens.
They're human beings, not aliens. What, dude? Come on.
We're saying that they're alien. They're foreign. They're not of this. They're an alien to. They're foreign from this country.
They may actually be not of this earth.
That is true, especially if you watch some of the.
Let's be real here. This would apply to both kinds of aliens.
If somebody coming from Mars in a spaceship, Trump's got the Trump card on them.
This is, you know what? We should make this into a card. And on one side, big giant Trump. And on the other side, this written. This is the Trump card.
Trump card.
This is flat out the Trump card. Now, it's on an 8x10, but we can make it smaller and call it the Trump card.
Oh, yeah.
So, no, this is wide latitude here. I mean, unless the person is not an alien, the president can say that you can't come in for just about any reason. It has to be detrimental to the interests of the United States. But here's the thing. He says listen to this language. This is very crucial. Whenever the president finds that the entry of any aliens or of any class of aliens into the United States would be detrimental to the interests of the United States. Now, if you really stop and think about that and you really parse up those words, it doesn't matter if they really are detrimental to the interests of the United States or not. They may actually not be detrimental to the interests of the United States. What this says is whenever the president finds that the entry of aliens. So as long as the president finds that the entry of the aliens are detrimental to the interests of the United States. In other words, his opinion or his conclusion trumps everybody's. The entire country could say, Mr. President, it is my finding that entry of these aliens to the United States would not be detrimental to the interests of the United States. All he has to say is, I disagree. And guess what? It is law.
Yes. And at the bottom it says, for as long as he deems necessary. This obviously was in play for the first, 50, 60 years of the early 1900s?
Yeah, there was.
When our government literally had a an immigration ban.
I think it was like a 40 or 60 year period in the early 20th century.
Right. So, and I mean, obviously, this is what a president would have put into play to make happen. It says as long. Dude, I'm just. They didn't even read this. They did not even read this in front of the Ninth Circus.
If they had read this in front of the Ninth Circus, what could they say that would avoid making them look like idiots? Complete idiots. Like, what do you say to this? What do you say to where you're able to say after an entire hearing, after hearing this, what can you say that justifies their decision? Nothing.
No, it's in plain English.
I mean, it doesn't get any more clear than this. So, yeah. I mean, you heard it here, guys, and if you haven't heard it anywhere else, that's pretty sad, but I'm pretty sure Hannity may have read it. Because Hannity was outraged that this wasn't read at the hearing.
He read it every day, at least once, on his radio show.
Well, it just goes to show you that our Ninth Circus Court of Appeals is detrimental to the interest of the United States.
Well, this is the draining of the swamp that Trump talked about.
So what do? I don't really know the legalities of it, but it sounds like something needs to be done at the federal level to completely break up this court.
Did we talk about this last night? You know, folks, Carrie and I...
We've talked a lot this week, and it may affect the quality of this program. Because these are things that we probably should have saved for the show. But were you going to ask about sending in troops?
Yes!
Yeah.
See, we've been doing this so long, folks, we can read each other's minds.
Yeah, so basically, there's an article out there, and I'm really sorry I don't have it queued up for you guys. But somebody posted this article on Twitter where they wrote examples of when the presidents of the past have had to take drastic action in the course of their duties as president of the United States that make what Trump doing seem like child's play.
Right. And I think Trump is not political correctness. I'm not saying that, but Trump has gone, and I was listening to Rush earlier this week, Trump has gone, dotted the T's, crossed the I's, okay, we'll do it this way, do it this way, and we'll do it correctly. His executive order that he put together, he sent it through the Department of Justice just to make sure the wording, just to make sure it coincided with this law, and then it worked out. So for anybody to say anything else is just unbelievable. And I know there are people out there, because I heard it from my wife, that the left are out. She was at a venue where people were talking out loud in the open. I don't know if it's the store or wherever. And she's buying shoes. You know how women do. Can I say that? Is that sexist?
You know how women do.
She's at the grocery store. You know how women are.
She's in the kitchen making a sandwich.
You know, she's at the hair salon getting her hair done. You know how the ladies talk there. And dude, that's no lie. At the hair salon.
Oh, are you sure?
Dude, that's the gossip.
Grab them in the...
That's the gossip of all gossip is at the hair salon.
Grab them by the panani, what Trump said behind closed doors. You're saying that the women are at least as bad.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I'll take your word for it.
So, and she overheard some people talking and said, well, you know, this is what Obama was trying to do. Obama did this same thing Obama was doing, but it got shot down at the Supreme Court. No, I'm here to tell you that it's not what Obama was doing. What Obama was doing, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know the exact wording, but the president of the United States, his job is to protect America and follow law and not implement the law, but follow the law in order to take care of America.
He's supposed to execute the law. That's the
correct
executive branch. They execute the law that the legislative branch wrote.
So when Obama signs an executive order telling all immigration officers to not arrest anybody for breaking crimes. Dude, that in my mind, that's a problem.
Yeah, you're basically putting the pressure on Congress to impeach. You're pretty much playing chicken. You're saying, well, how about this? I'm not going to enforce the law that you wrote, and if you don't like my inaction, you can go ahead and try to impeach me. And if Congress doesn't jerk the wheel and lose the game of chicken, they could start the impeachment process.
Correct. And nobody up there on Capitol Hill wanted to be the white guy that ended the first black president's reign of terror.
Right.
So my point is, Obama was hell-bent on destroying America from within by implementing things that were unconstitutional at times, and he was shot down at the Supreme Court in certain instances when he did overstep the bounds, and it was shown to be unconstitutional. That only happened a couple times, but it did. This with Trump, I'm telling you, and this is a soundbite from MSNBC, The 11th Hour. That's the name of the show, The 11th Hour. I don't know what implications that has, but The 11th Hour.
I thought it was 11th hour?
Yeah, what does that mean? What is that? The 11th, the last hour? MSNBC, stupid name for a stupid show. 11th Hour, George Washington University Law School professor Jonathan Turley. You don't want to say that incorrectly. You could sound like you're saying something else. He was on, and he was asked about the travel ban and what he personally thought about this.
If this White House wanted to make the ban lawful and constitutional, how would they change it?
Did you hear the question?
Could you play that again? Because I can't believe.
Did you hear the question?
It sounded like a fake news, fake premise.
If this White House wanted to make the ban lawful and constitutional, how would they change it?
Well, you just read the law. They would change it by
CNN fake news. What do you think?
I mean, they could make it more clear. I don't know.
If this White House wanted to make the ban lawful and constitutional,
if they wanted to make it lawful and constitutional, she is the question. The premise of the question is
that it's not lawful.
That it's currently unlawful.
Right, which we read to you why that's a lie.
I'm sorry for getting so fired up, folks.
That's a lie. It's a lie. He could have wrote this. I'm looking at the U.S. Code 1182, 8 U.S. Code 1182 right now. And he could have wrote, I find that the entry of aliens from the following 7 countries to be detrimental, or into the United States, would be detrimental to the interests of the United States. And so I am proclaiming now, for the period of 90 days, or 180, whatever he said, to suspend entry of all aliens from those countries as immigrants or non-immigrants to the United States, and that's all I have to say about it. Period. I almost wrote an executive order, almost word for word, based on this code here.
Yes, you did.
And guess what? What I just said is exactly word for word the law.
if this White House wanted to make the ban lawful and constitutional, how would they change it?
Well, it was a poorly crafted executive order, and
was
it was a terrible rollout. But I still think that the law, the administration, once you get to the merits.
He said the law is on the side of the administration. So no matter how this law professor bashes the order and the rollout, dude, who bashes the rollout?
Well, they tried to brand it a Muslim ban. Which, by the way, the idea that there's no religious test is actually made up.
Well, yeah, because there are a lot of Muslim countries that are 99.9% Muslim that are not on this list. If he banned every country that is 99% Muslim and put into words Muslims and Islam, then maybe I wouldn't have a problem with it.
No,
but
I don't think it would be. I don't think it'd be unconstitutional. It would be a lot less. It'd be a lot easier to bash to pieces by the left, but it still would be within the law because the constitutional test that they refer to is inapplicable to aliens.
Correct. However, if they write it in such a way that shows that the religion of Islam is incompatible with our government because it is to overthrow our government, then Islam as a religion, or a pseudo-fake, it ain't a religion, but a pseudo-fake religion, Islam should be banned from this country, because if you are a good Muslim practicing Islam, your goal is to overthrow the current government. That cannot stand. We cannot allow that.
Right.
So here's that Professor Babylon a little bit more.
I don't agree with some of those cases, but the courts have been highly deferential to the president, and they generally don't second guess. And I think that people also have to acknowledge that the Trump administration here is making virtually the identical arguments of the Obama administration. The Obama administration argued that the president's judgment on immigration was largely unreviewable.
Okay. So Obama made the case that the president's judgment on immigration is largely unreviewable.
Why?
Because of this law.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear. So
however,
why did they?
However, Obama was attempting to use this, and I'm thinking through this and what had happened, transpired, and things that had happened. But Obama attempting to use this in order to do the opposite of what Trump is doing. And the opposite meaning allowing anybody and their brother to come in at any given time, whenever, however, and all law enforcement agencies to not do their job, which is to vet people out, find criminals that are take illegal criminals and ship them back to their host country, things like that. What Obama was doing was detrimental, was causing problems in our country, and was letting in the bad element that was seeking to destroy us from within, whether it be San Bernardino, whether it be Orlando, whether it be Paris, wherever it be. He was bringing in those people in the hopes that would happen. So my point is, Obama was not taking care of the country. See, either you can do good or you can do bad, regardless of the situation. Trump is doing good by restricting or posing restrictions on incoming new immigrants. Obama was putting restrictions on law enforcement to not do their job when it came to immigration.
Right.
Does that make sense? I'm trying to say it a couple different ways so it comes out.
No, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. The bottom line is we have the laws there for a reason. If they weren't important, they wouldn't make the laws. I think this U.S. Code, this 8 U.S. Code 1182, says a lot about the mindset of and the purpose of the government, the mindset of the framers, whoever wrote this, and what they were thinking. And it's the federal government's primary role is to protect America.
And if you're allowing illegals to come across the border with an unrestricted border, you are going against your own duties as protecting the American citizen.
I argued that he could even order the failure to enforce immigration laws. But
okay, he's saying, this law professor says that Obama was saying that he is allowed to refuse to enforce the law. I guess, yes.
Obama refused to enforce the law.
Yeah, he says that this allows him to refuse to enforce the law.
Who to refuse to enforce?
Obama. To do it when he was doing it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, he was just, and nobody called him out for it. He decided to run America how he wanted to run it based on picking and choosing which laws he wanted to enforce and which ones he didn't.
Right.
And so that's why we got flooded with all these illegal aliens. And it's interesting. I wanted to talk to you about, once we get through this soundbite, what your thoughts are on all these new reports of the roundup.
Yeah, we got that.
The arguments were very, very similar. And for all the Democrats objecting now, I didn't hear a peep of objection from them when just last year these arguments were being made by the same Justice Department.
That's the only thing that I have to say about that he got right, is no Democrat said a single word. However, when he says they were similar in the sense that one was right and one was wrong. I mean, they're similar in the sense that it had to do with immigration. Other than that, it's black and white. It's night and day. Trump is right and Obama was wrong. So there's no similarities in my mind.
No, I mean, sounds like polar opposites to me.
Right, but when you're a law professor and you're on MSNBC, you can spin it however you want to spin it.
So earlier in the show, we made reference to the fact that we actually have said this months and months and months ago, when there was a big debate over whether or not we should be supporting Democratic candidate, potential president hopeful Donald Trump should be deemed fit to serve as president when he wants to ban or he wants to get rid of illegal immigrants and all this kind of stuff. And we had made the prediction that nothing of the sort will ever happen, because it would be a humanitarian crisis.
Correct.
Where you're sending illegal immigrants with minor U.S. citizen children back to Mexico with children who have never been there in their life. The whole thing just was all convoluted. So our prediction was there will be a measure of amnesty. And we went so far as to say that if you are a conservative, American patriot, Trump supporter and all that, you really have to admit that there's going to be a limited amount of actual amnesty. Because once you secure the borders tight as a drum, and you make it so that only people who come in legally through the process that's in place will ever be allowed in, the ones that are here and have been here for 2 decades or more or whatnot are going to have some sort of something. I'm not saying total amnesty where they're full-blown citizens, but you're going to have to acknowledge the fact that they're here, and to make them go home now would just cause a humanitarian crisis. Now, fast forward all the way to this week. Suddenly, there's all these reports from all over the country, specifically the Southwest, though, or I should say especially the Southwest, where there's mothers with minor children who are illegal, and their minor children are American citizens being sent home, and not their children. Their children are left outside the squad car with their cell phone, taking pictures, artsy pictures of their mother in a sad face behind bars and behind a glass, automobile window.
I keep thinking of like the Keystone Coppers with that paddy wagon.
Right. With the spoked wheels.
Right.
The old turn of the century mobile.
Yes.
With the cops have the big tall hats on.
Oh yeah.
So
I know.
So apparently this stuff is being reported, and as soon as I started seeing it, and they're going further, they've got the narrative all figured out. And by narrative, we'll talk about that in a second, because I didn't think about it being a narrative. I have to remember that mainstream media is a fiction, and every day they come up with a cast of characters, they come up with a plot line, they do the storyboards. I mean, the whole kit and caboodle.
Right.
And somebody writes up a screenplay. When you watch a show on TV at night, like, I don't know, CSI or whatever. And then you're watching news on CNN.
CNN fake news. What do you think?
And you're watching news, or you're listening, or watching, reading news on Washington Post and BuzzFeed and these places. You are reading the fiction, the narrative, the made-up stuff. And so I have to remind myself of that. But before I spoil what I experience, I want to just kind of get your mind right. I wasn't thinking that. I was thinking, ooh, what's in the news today? And what I was watching and reading on Yahoo and these other fake news sites was that, hey, look, there's a single woman named Guadalupe who was picked up at some city in America. Turns out she happens to be illegal. She's got a bunch of children, all of which were born in America, and by Bill of Rights they're all American citizens. And they take her away from her children alone, drive her to a small border town across the border, and dump her off and say, good luck, peace out, and drive off. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I was telling our listeners months ago was never going to happen.
Hold on a sec. You said what? You said, oh my what?
Oh my God.
Yeah, my sentiments exactly. I know a woman. I know of a woman. Absolutely. She's been here over 20 plus years.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
4 kids.
Okay.
Who are now in their 20s.
Are they citizens?
The children, all 4 children are. Yes,
they were
all born here.
Okay.
All 4 children born here. She's never had a job because she couldn't. She has collected welfare the entire time, whether it be cash assistance, money assistance, food assistance, Section 8, whatever it be. She's collected that this entire time. Her kids now have kids. So now she has grandchildren.
Okay.
She could care less about this country. It's all about me, getting mine, whatever's for me. And she's gone back and forth to Mexico multiple times. Here's my point. As much as I would like to see her get just desserts, you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it. She's got children and grandchildren that speak Spanglish. It's called Spanglish.
Spanglish, okay.
Yeah, it's the very broken, bastardized Spanish.
Okay.
I mean, is
it English or Spanish? It's literally a hybrid.
It's a hybrid of both, and they do it on purpose because they think that it's their own language.
Okay. All right.
And they'll start speaking to you like they say something like, hey, Carrie, vámonos to mi casa, hey, Carrie, what do you think? Maybe later on today, vámonos na casa or Pedro, and then we can head out later on.
And you're like, huh?
Dude, I am not lying. It's an entire sentence that will weave in and out of Spanish and English.
I was actually with a bunch of, they were Puerto Rican at a game the other day, and they were doing that with each other. They were going back and forth. They would start a sentence in English, and then halfway through it, we're just totally in Spanish. And sometimes they'd venture back into English again. Do you want to hear the oh my? This is where I got that from.
Oh my God!
Oh, is that?
That's what
you said.
from.
What? Oh, okay. So this version, that's what.
Oh my God! It was from Tommy Boy, which is this one.
Oh my God!
This was he's burning down
He's acting like he has a big cigar, and he
burnt the car up. He's trying to get the deal. Yeah, that's too much.
Oh my God!
Good times.
Anyway,
okay, so I know of a situation, and you couldn't undo it now. It's been too long. I also know of a situation to where there was a man who, during Reagan's era, when Reagan was convinced by the Democrats to grant amnesty one-time deal, you'll never have to do it again, and they'll solve our problem. He actually became a U.S. citizen during that era, during that Reagan era.
Okay.
Subsequently, married multiple women that gave them legal status.
Okay.
And those women had babies in America, which gave them status too.
Yeah, once you marry an American citizen, you're like automatically or something like that?
Well, you have to fill out certain paperwork, and I believe that one of his wives only received like green card status. Well, it wasn't quite full-blown citizen, like they couldn't vote, but it was a green card status. Well, during this week, this run-up, and they knew that the family, the kids, knew that they could do something to help their mom to get her citizenship, but they just never did it. This week in this run-up, all of a sudden I'm getting heat from them talking about, oh my God, they're going to deport mom. They're going to deport mom. I said, they are not going to deport your mother. It's just not, it's ridiculous, but you're listening, obviously you're listening to the fakest of fake news for you to think.
So then what's the story with Guadalupe?
Okay. Let's pull out the paperwork.
Brian's pulling up. Let me show you what I got about Guadalupe.
Okay. Mexican sentenced to 8 years and a $5,000 fine for voter fraud.
Oh, wait, that's not what I heard.
This from CBS DFW out of Dallas-Fort Worth. Rosa Ortega, an illegal woman and a mother of four, according to her lawyer, will most likely be deported because she was convicted of 2 felony accounts of illegal voting.
Oh, that's not Guadalupe, then.
That's not Guadalupe.
Okay. This is somebody else.
She as she said, allegations she improperly cast. It's just an accident. I improperly casted votes 5 times between 2005 and 2014. Okay, so here's the narrative that they're painting. Okay, she's going to go to jail. She's been sentenced to jail, and this was by the a jury heard the entire thing, and the jury did not believe she did not know what she was doing. Okay, sentenced her to 8 years. Now that has happened, and they're bringing this back up. February 10th, 2017, roll this out, they make this part of the narrative. The lawyer comes out and says, yep, she's probably going to be deported. She's a mother of 4. And then they interviewed the uncle. And then, they're devastated. She's got 4 children, mother of 4. She didn't know. They're going to deport her now. That's not in the cards. Maybe it is in the cards. Here's the thing. If you do something illegal and you are charged and convicted with a felony, I don't care who you are. If you are illegally in this country, you are an alien to this country, and you commit a felony. Felons can't buy guns. Felons can't vote. Felon. You're probably going to be sent back.
Well, and I actually disagree about felons not being able to vote or buy guns. However, I am definitely for sending back an immigrant that's a felon.
Correct.
Illegal immigrant.
Right. Second story to come out now. That one came out at DFW, CBS. Second story to come out. This is out of from the paper Arizona Central. Raids on 3 amusement parks led to the arrest of a woman and 11 other people accused of working without documents. Carlos Garcia of Puente, Arizona, talks about the family of Guadalupe Garcia de Reos.
Here we go. That's the one that I heard about.
February 10th, 2017, in Nogales, Sonora. If you pronounce that incorrectly, that means you're
Nogales.
Nogales. Yeah, in Spanish that means you're hind end,
rear end,
which I think is kind of funny.
I'm gonna kick your Nogales.
Nogales. Yeah, that's
Nogales.
Bad. Yeah, that's not bad news. Okay, out of Nogales, Sonora.
It's better than being spanked.
Right. So Arizona, azcentral.com. And this is how they word this. You ready? On a dark morning, December 2008. Maricopa County Sheriff's deputies knocked on the door of a home in West Mesa. They were there to find out if a woman suspected of committing a felony, namely working with fake documents at a miniature golf course and water park. I love this, fairly quickly on that Tuesday, just before 6 a.m., Guadalupe Garcia de Rejos told the deputies what they needed to know to arrest her. She verified her name and said she indeed worked at Gulfland Sunsplash, an amusement park about 2 miles away. That arrest in 2008 was part of a well-publicized attack on illegal immigration by then Maricopa County Sheriff Joe Arpaio. And then Maricopa County Attorney Andrew Thomas. Both men had vowed to use their local offices to crack down on a national problem. Both men said they would do so in part by going after employers who hired people without proper documents. That arrest would lead to the deportation of Garcia de Rejos to Mexico this week. It was the result, her immigration attorney said, of tougher enforcement policies put in place by Trump. Mm-hmm. Her earlier felony conviction had not merited her removal in the previous years.
Okay, you want me to give you the simplified version that I read? So this woman committed a crime a long time ago.
2008.
A long time ago. And they, instead of deporting her for the crime, they decided that they're going to allow her to stay. And I'm assuming she'd already been here for a long time because she has like a teenage son who is a legal immigrant. So she's been here for like almost 2 decades, or at least right. 15 years. And so she'd committed this crime. And on the condition that they let her stay, she has to agree to show up to the ICE office to show that she's still in good standing, didn't get any more additional trouble, and that she's where she's supposed to be.
So once a year she would do this. Okay. Yeah,
then it had been upgraded to once every 6 months.
I don't understand that.
Well, I guess maybe different policies, more stringent policies, whatever. Maybe, executive orders come down where they're more strict. So she shows up to this office the other day thinking she's just showing up for her routine once every 6 months.
Once every year.
No, it's down to once every 6 months.
And she was doing every 6 months. She was following.
Yeah, because it had changed to once every 6 months. So she shows up thinking that she's just going to do what she's always done. She say, yeah, I'm here. I'm still in good standing. Everything's good. And when she arrived, they said, yeah, you're not going to be going home today.
We've got a wagon out back for you.
Yeah, you're actually coming with us. And she's like, what? What do you mean? Why? What did I do? I didn't do nothing.
She said, ¿Qué?
¿Qué? ¿Cómo?
¿Cómo qué?
¿Cómo qué? Anyway, so she goes, what? I don't know nothing about this. So they said, well, no, it's nothing you did. It's just a change in the executive orders. So, yeah, you're coming with us. And they dropped her off in some deserted ghost town just across the border, alone with nobody else.
Whatever.
Her children,
I'm not buying it.
Her children were with her, and there was a crowd gathered outside and tried to surround the ICE vehicle she was in to prevent it from leaving.
Yeah, they said protesters amassed.
This almost sounds completely staged.
Oh, it would be a good one to stage.
Well, this is what they probably did. What they probably did, George Soros said, all right, what are we going to do? How about this? We got these new orders that kind of can be construed, if you're the right person that works at ICE, that they're going to go ahead and deport any illegal aliens they run into. Okay? So, do we know any friendly ICE agents? Oh, yeah, we do. Well, let's get in contact with them. Sounds like George Soros coordinated an event whereby a woman, unsuspecting, unbeknownst to her, is going to be deported, even though she doesn't know it, because we're going to coordinate with the ICE workers who are actually going to carry this out. Meanwhile, let's make sure that we hire the protesters to get there, bus them in there if we have to. And by the way, make sure the media is there too.
Oh, yeah. Here's that infamous picture.
Yeah, the one that so there's a picture of her looking kind of sad behind the bars inside the car. The picture was taken by her son, whose face can be seen reflected in the window.
Dude, this is too good. This is too good.
That's Pulitzer Prize photography.
Yes.
That's the kind of the photograph that will, they're going to use that as the poster.
Oh, absolutely. Oh my goodness, absolutely. Yeah, you got this one too. I mean, you got all kinds of photos of this woman behind the caged window.
Yep, ICE vehicle. So it's not to get all conspiratorial tinfoil hat. This is definitely, this stinks. This reeks of all the hallmarks of conspiracy. Now, here's the thing, though. We're not saying she didn't get deported, right? I'm just saying the whole thing sounds very staged. But now here's what Brian told me on the phone, and I want him to tell you guys this too. Is this new? Is this so now suddenly suddenly Trump gets elected president, and now there's all these mass deportations.
No.
Explain to the audience why. What are you talking about?
Okay, I knew a guy. We called him Jose. I don't know what his real name was.
Juan Williams.
Yeah, Juan Williams. Jose.
Why are we not deporting him?
In one way, yeah, no, he definitely needs to be deported. Jose in SoCal, Southern California, in LA, had come across the border. He had his entire family was in Mexico, and he came across the border multiple times. He'd been arrested and deported twice when I met him, and he's back in California working on cars. That's body shop. That's just what you do, getting paid on the table. Well, I knew of a way, and there is a legal way, and I'm not going to tell anybody about it because I don't want y'all to know about it, but there is a legal way through a corporation. If you set it up and you fill out the proper paperwork, I could literally get you a green card, probably less than $5,000. Get you in the country.
Kind of pricey. Well, you're actually getting them here physically.
They would be in the country with a green card and could send for their family to come too.
Okay.
For $5,000. I could do that. I'm not going to tell you about that. So I was talking to Jose about this and said, man, you could start to look into some of these programs if you want to stay. He didn't know a stitch of English, didn't care, sent his money back. And then one day he was... What is it with the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? One day I was playing some ball with some friends, and your mother said, you go move to your aunties and your uncles.
In Bel-Air.
Right.
Yes.
So he was doing some things he shouldn't have been doing. He got picked up.
Okay. So he was breaking the law, being bad, whatever.
Right. Oh, he was riding shotgun passenger in a car with a friend who did have papers, who was legal.
Okay.
Was born here. And they asked him for his driver's license, which I think it's illegal to ask passengers for identification.
You could talk to Gavin Seam.
Yeah.
Have you seen his videos?
No.
He's the ultra libertarian. He's borderline anarchist.
We talked about that guy and we discussed it on the show.
Yeah.
No, dude, follow the law, listen to the officer, be nice.
There's a fine line between messing around with officers and doing it legally and messing around with the officers and doing it illegally.
Like he taunts them almost on purpose to get them to...
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen people try to do what he does and do it wrong.
Oh, it fails. Oh, yeah, right. You can fail.
But anyway, so...
I'm not sure
We learned from Gavin Seam that if you're a passenger in the car that's pulled over for committing a crime such as a moving violation, the passenger has to be breaking his own law for you to ask for his identification.
Now, if you're walking down the street and you pass a cop walking down the street and he stops and says, "Hey, man, what you doing?"
He's allowed to ask.
No, I'm not doing anything. I'm just kind of walking around. I don't know. What are you doing? Well, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I got some reports that there was something going on around here. Just want to see if you knew about it. Maybe I just want to make sure you're not the guy we're looking for. You got an ID on you? I could see your ID. Is that cool?
Yeah. He's not allowed. He's not forced to give up any information at that point.
Yeah.
Because you still need a warrant unless there's probable cause. And I think that fitting the description probably doesn't fall under the realm of probable cause.
It might.
We'll have to talk to a cop about that.
So, anywho, he was in the car and he told him, he said, "I ain't got none." So, "You got any papers?" "No. I ain't got no." Like, because he'd already been arrested and deported twice. I guess his whole thing was, "Yep, here we go again. We're doing it again." And they sent him back. They sent him back across the border, deported him the third time. And this was during Obama's early years. This wasn't like this is just what ICE does. This is what they do. And they sent him back across the border. He said he didn't want to mess with it. He didn't want to come back anymore. He just didn't even want to fool with it anymore. Another guy that we knew married a Mexican from Mexico, but he was legally in L.A. He's born in L.A. I think his mom jumped the border, but he was born in L.A., so he's an anchor baby. He went back to Mexico and met up with a girl and said, "I'll bring you to America." Married her, but didn't do the right paperwork. She got deported.
Ugh.
So he went back to Mexico to go live with her. I don't know how that worked out. But I'm just saying, I know of all kinds of deportations where there'll be somebody's tipped off. Like this one, tipped off 11 people. 11 people deported or arrested for using false documents.
Yeah, you're going to be in trouble if you do that stuff.
And it runs rampant in California and Los Angeles. Rampant. You can go to Huntington Park, HP, and you could go there, and for $125 to $150, you can walk into this office, get a license with your picture on it, a new name, and a Social Security card.
And maybe even a voter registration.
It's possible. Well, now that you have the driver's license,
yeah,
you got the motor voter law.
And you could probably do absentee balloting.
Well, absolutely.
Wouldn't know one way or another, yeah. So the point Brian's trying to make that this needs to be really understood is we believe, based on what Brian knows and has experienced while living for a decade in L.A., that nothing has really changed with ICE. It's the reporting.
And let's find the juiciest reports ever. I mean, they're talking about this arrest. It's unfortunate. She was arrested on 2008.
That was a long time ago.
Almost what?
It was almost 10 years ago. It was 8 years ago.
8 years ago, right.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. What are we talking about here?
We're pretty much setting it up. Somebody with money said we need to set this up. We need to start filling the airwaves with the humanitarian crisis of people with loved ones in America who are paying their taxes. They're law-abiding citizens, which they're not. Almost all these cases, we're finding out that they had some sort of either a felony. And let me tell you something. Falsifying these documents and impersonating a citizen and all that. I mean, you're really dancing on some pretty bad territory there.
And the other thing about these protests, they blocked the van that would drive her to the border.
Right.
But it was temporary. And her attorney on Thursday said she had been deported.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I heard too. Okay. I read that she was dropped off alone in some town.
I'm not going to believe that.
Like, good luck, honey.
I can't, for the life of me, I would believe that she'd be handed over to Mexican authorities. Can't believe you just drop. How do you? Because ICE doesn't have jurisdiction to drive into Mexico with an illegal.
I don't know. That's a big question. If we were going to start flying people on a plane to cities in Mexico, that seems weird to me, because I guess if you put them on the plane and say good luck,
that'd be a little bit different,
because they're Mexican citizens,
right? Versus driving across the border. When you're driving across the border, unless you've got some kind of agreement with law enforcement, but then you would hand her over. This happens on the border of California and Mexico on a daily basis, where people are being arrested and turned back.
And that's really important for you to hear that, because if you didn't hear that, you would be misled into thinking that something changed here.
And for all of you that are bleeding hearts, they're just looking for jobs. I'll tell you what, go down to the border of Mexico and California at any given day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, at 7 a.m., 6:30 a.m., 7 a.m., you will see the hundreds of Mexicans walking across the border to work.
A lot of them probably have visas.
And walking back. So we have laws on the books that just need to be enforced, and now everybody's getting upset because we voted in a law and order candidate who's now the law and order president.
Yeah, and I've heard this said a lot of times before, and I think it should be repeated now. If you don't like exactly the way the laws are that we're trying to enforce, you can call your congressman and probably get some sort of a coalition of congressmen together to put together a bill and make it into a law in such a way that makes the immigration system that you would like to see, right?
Right.
As opposed to the way it actually is right now. That way we can enforce that law. The law you want instead of the law we have.
Right.
I mean, people treat federal laws like we treat the rest of the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. It's not really. I mean, this 8 U.S. Code 1182 about the inadmissible aliens. I mean, there's a process for changing this law, for rescinding it and replacing it with something else, or changing the words around. And if you don't like what it says and what it means to have this law and what the purpose was, what the motive was behind coming up with such a law, then you need to work with your congressman and have your congressman work with fellow congressmen and colleagues throughout Congress and in the Senate and all that kind of stuff to make these changes. Make them.
Did you hear about the breaking news?
Uh-oh, probably. I mean, there's so much stuff that come out in the last 24 hours.
This is Obama speaking. Senator Obama.
Oh, Senator Obama.
On the need to better secure the border and to punish employers who choose to hire illegal immigrants. We are a generous and welcoming people here in the United States, but those who enter the country illegally and those who employ them disrespect the rule of law, and they are showing disregard for those who are following the law. We simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked, and circumventing the line of people who are waiting patiently, diligently, and lawfully to become immigrants.
That's how he got elected.
So I wonder when he was lying. Was he lying then, or was he lying when he was president?
Yeah, he's lying then, because that's how he got elected.
Okay, so you're saying he was trying to sucker some of the Republican votes or conservative votes. Like, well, at least he's a border security guy.
Right. Sounds like he's strict, tough on the border, and he's really going to put the screws to him.
And also, don't forget, context is really important when it comes to historical events. And that is a historical event because it was, 10 years ago about that he said that. Maybe more.
Right. Well, he was senator. And it was a press conference, and you heard the cameras, clack, 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 clack. Why do they do that? Turn the sound off your digital camera. Turn the sound off your digital camera.
No,
turn it off.
That's the shutter.
Yeah, no, it's the sound. You can undo the sound on your camera.
No, they have real cameras. They're not using cell phones.
I got a camera here, and
they're using real cameras with shutters.
I can make my camera make sound.
Right,
that's true. Or not make sound.
That's true. You know, in the past, it was a law that it has to make sound, and it was illegal to disable the sound. Do you know why?
Well, yeah, because people were taking pictures of people unbeknownst to themselves.
No, worse. They were scared that people, since it's their phone, it's always on you. And they thought that, well, you're going to have this thing when you go into a public bathroom.
Oh.
So you want to be able to hear it when somebody snaps it. That way, if you happen to be the victim of getting snapped, you would hear it. Now they're just like, whatever. But anyway, that was a sidetrack thing.
A guy working as a subcontractor, this happened this week, put his cell phone in the women's bathroom.
Oh, jeez.
Laid it on the floor and put it on record.
Okay.
To come back later for it.
Okay.
And the woman went in there and saw it and reported it. They subsequently found it was his.
Okay.
Got fired.
Thank you, Captain Hobby. Of course they're going to find out it's his. I mean, first person that calls to answer it and be like, whose phone you calling? Are you looking for somebody? I'm sorry, who are you looking for?
Hey, Bob there? Yeah, Bob.
Bob who? There's 2 Bobs here.
The one that's in trouble. I want to talk to him.
My gosh.
Oh, wow. So a couple other things kind of went down. We got Betsy DeVos confirmed for Education Department, head of the Department of Education. Celebrities are freaking out.
Number 5 will shock you.
They are screaming, this is murdering our schools.
Literally Hitler.
Right. Come on, man. What is wrong with these people?
They're insane.
And then something that I'm kind of excited about, Kentucky Representative Thomas Massey launches a bill to abolish the federal education department.
Good. I think that, look, guys, you don't need the federal government to educate our children. And you can't just automatically assume that because the federal government isn't overseeing it, that our children are going to exit their 12th grade retarded. I mean,
I did the 12th grade retarded.
I mean, I was trying to come up with the right description, but yeah, I mean, people think that if you don't have all these ridiculous regulations on all the states, on all the kids, one size fits all, giant leviathan at the federal level, that we're just going to have stupid kids. You can't get any stupider than they already are.
You know, I didn't even put this article in the stack of stuff, but now that you say that, there was a study.
I'm really passionate about it. I work at a high school.
There was a study done that said that under the 8 years of Obama, kids have gotten stupider.
Absolutely.
I saw that article this week and I couldn't believe it. Like, well, one, I couldn't believe that somebody did a study to find that and put that out, but to put it out and directly blame Obama for it.
And let me tell you guys, all you activists out there, all you conservative activists, if you want to get conservatives, the inactives, I don't really get into politics that much. If you want to motivate those people, you start telling them about the atrocity that is American education. We spend more money per child in America than any other country in the entire world. And guess what? We're like 39th countries.
The top country spends a fraction per child, but does it in a very efficient manner. Kind of like the same manner that Trump won the presidency more efficiently than probably George Washington.
I was a little disappointed when I didn't hear immediately that Betsy DeVos was not specifically put in the Department of Education in order to dismantle it completely.
Well, Carrie,
maybe they're hiding that. You're saying they're hiding it.
Well, I find it very interesting that as soon as she's confirmed,
a bill is introduced.
Thomas Massey launches a bill.
Interesting. So she was put there specifically to dismantle it.
Who knows? I mean, it would be a good idea. Reagan ran on that same notion back in the 80s, and we all wanted it. Not we. They all wanted it then. I wasn't around, you weren't
even born.
No, not yet.
Yeah,
not yet.
And I have to crack up at liberals who think that if you privatize the school systems, that all of a sudden you're going to have all these schools all over the country that don't have any standards, and they're going to be kids that are going to be left behind because they're going to be so stupid and so uneducated, miseducated, and learning all the wrong things, and by the time you catch it, it'll be too late. Let me let you in on a little secret of capitalism. Bad companies don't work. The amount of kids that would fall through the cracks of a piss poor school. I mean, think about it. What is the most important thing in people's lives? It's their kids. And education is a big part of what you do as a parent to make sure that your child is getting the attention they need in life.
Yeah, but
right?
Carrie, it could be worse than 50% graduation rate. It could be worse. LA Unified, Los Angeles School District.
Is it public or private?
Public school district.
Charter school.
Wow. The kids moving from the 6th grade to the 7th grade.
Yeah.
Successfully. 50% dropout rate, LA Unified.
That is a mega epic fail. You cannot possibly.
If you privatize it, Carrie, it's going to get worse.
At this point, this is the sad part. I want to say the funny thing. It's not funny. It's an American tragedy. And that is that we've gotten so bad that you could almost introduce just about anything. And if somebody tries to oppose it, just be like, oh yeah, well, it can't be worse than what we're doing now. Like almost anything. You could almost say, you know what? Why don't we just, as soon as they're old enough to like lift something, just put them to work. We don't need school. And that might not be as bad as what we have right now. Seriously. And that's not hyperbole. The reason I would go that far is to say maybe no education is better is because right now, what you end up with kids out of 12, 15 years of school is completely indoctrinated communists. I'd rather them just be dumb workers than to be communists. That's how sad it's been.
Right.
When you got these indoctrinated communists, you've literally raised the people. You've set into motion this machine of drone sheep who are going to do nothing but support programs and bills and all these things introduced into the government that are communists.
Right. No, absolutely 100%. And I'm not making these numbers up. Look at these numbers nationwide. I have a very close person to us, to our family, that is in a very, very rough high school.
Public high school, yeah.
Right, as a teacher. She took that because, it was open and she had a way to get in, but she had the credentials for it. However, starting salary is higher there because nobody wants to work there.
Yeah.
And she says it's literally a babysitting organization
for teenagers.
And she has to friend them so that she doesn't get hurt.
Right. It's just like a prison.
And she's got a hot button.
So
she's got a hot button at her desk.
Oh, like underneath the desk?
Yes, where she can press it for security.
Oh, jeez. Wow.
And I made the comment flippantly when you and I and my brother were driving in the car. I said, they're raising our children to learn to live in a prison environment because that's what's going to eventually happen to them anyways.
They got to go through metal detectors when they enter the school. It's pretty much on lockdown from the moment you're in there until the time you get out. You're not allowed anywhere. You don't have freedom of movement whatsoever in a school. Yeah, they're pretty much trained to behave adequately in a prison environment. Yeah, absolutely. Which is a real shame. Now, I work at a private school, and here's what I always thought was very unfair. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor or middle class, doesn't matter. If you want to send your kid to the private school that I work at, it's $10,000 a year. Okay.
Right.
Now you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, if you're poor, forget about it. Well, there's these programs and whatever that you can enter into where you can get tuition assistance and all this kind of stuff. Largely, those tuition assistance programs are largely almost completely funded by alumni who've done really well for themselves, and they donate to this giant pot of money that they can give to people who can't afford a tuition. So that's pretty nice. However, here's the unfair part. That $10,000 or what is it now, $12,000 per kid that we pay, our taxpayers pay for,
right?
You don't get that back. We are paying for our children to go to a public school, and we use none of it.
It's an expensive babysitting service.
Imagine if you paid for a car that you don't want. Okay, and so what do? You don't drive it around.
It's called a Chrysler.
Okay, so say you buy a Chrysler, okay, and you park it in your backyard and don't touch it. You never drive it at all. You voluntarily abandon the vehicle, and you go out and you buy a second vehicle, the one that you like. That's very expensive. Isn't it unfair that you had to lose that money for the Chrysler to begin with? And if you were poor, you don't even have that option, even though you spent a portion of your income to pay for that Chrysler. You paid for the Chrysler, and you're already poor. Maybe if you didn't have to pay for the Chrysler, maybe you could have afforded the car that you actually wanted, the 80s Beamer.
Or a Ford that would do you right and not catch fire and burn your house down.
Okay, all right. Why would the Ford burn the house down?
No, Chryslers were doing that. The transmissions were being put into the wrong size cars, and the transmissions actually caught fire. See, this is the news that they don't want to tell you because this is a government car.
Right.
The transmissions were catching on fire and burning people's house down, and GM as well, GM locking up and killing people too.
What about the Toyotas? That were on the highway, the fake news.
Anybody that can do 80 miles an hour in L.A., dude, you need an award.
I can't stop it. We need to get that 911
Dude, I would
call.
love to do 80. I would love to.
Everybody's like 80. This is fake.
Dude, we have cars now that cruise very smoothly. Remember back in the 80s when you would drive a car doing 80?
Yeah.
The thing would, like a rust bucket, fall apart.
It felt like you were out of control.
Right, now?
80 was dangerous.
Dude, now cruise control at 80. You're good.
Oh, yeah, easily. So, getting back to the point.
Okay.
It's annoying to know that you're actually paying for the tuition of your child to go to a public school, and you don't get any of that back when you decide to send your child to a better school, which would be private. And that's so unfair. Maybe if you're ultra wealthy and you got $40,000 burning a hole in your pocket, sure, you could miss that money that you spend in taxes to abandon the school that you're supposed to send your child to,
right?
The public school,
right?
That's fine, but it's just unbelievably fair. So what I advocate for is that all the schools are private and that everybody gets the vouchers to go to the school. Period. End of story. And then they get rated based on it could be standardized testing.
Dude, I tell you what, they should also have a star rating that the parents actually give the school.
Oh, absolutely. And Angie's List for schools.
Yes,
absolutely.
Angie's List for schools.
Absolutely. So, and not only that, this might upset you a little bit, but you got to hear it out. If capitalism is so important to the United States that even the government should be allowed to do things to support it, I think that there should be an Angie's List website that's a .gov actual government-run website specifically to make sure that consumers are informed on their school.
My only problem with that is that the red tape and the gobbledygook would be the same thing as that what we get with the unemployment rate, the UE3 and the UE6, and their different ratings for different things.
I see what you're going with that. You're saying that they would gum it up purposely to trick customers.
Well, they're doing it now.
Right.
They're doing it now.
It should be extremely simple. It should be like Angie's List.
You just said extremely simple. Dude, that's the government. It don't happen.
Yes, very difficult.
They would have to hire teams and teams.
Like the tax code.
Right. They would have to get those 3 Muslim guys, those IT guys, to build this.
Well, I wouldn't.
At 160 apiece.
Okay, but here's the problem. If Angie's List for private schools does not get made by a private entity, I look at it like the post office. Post office needed to be done by the government at first. Now, in the modern day and age, we got both UPS and FedEx both competing. Right now, they need to abolish the post office, period.
Billions of dollars lost every year because of the post office.
It should be abolished because here's why. Not because there's one private company that does it, but because there's 2 competing private companies doing it.
Did you know the federal government pays those companies sometimes to
deliver the mail?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they can do it cheaper?
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Listen, Uncle Sam, get rid of the Department of Education, replace it. Actually, let's keep the Department of Education, but let's hack it down to one thing. The Department of Education should be renamed carrieslist.gov, which is nothing more than a rating system for schools on a state-by-state basis.
Okay, and the ratings come from the citizens.
Well, there'll be several different things. Number one, I would mandate that
you can't rate that school unless you actually go there.
Okay, that would be one. But here's another thing, and this would be the big metric. I think that standardized testing, and this would be government. Somebody would come up with standardized testing for all the students in every school in the entire country. They take the test, and it's used for one purpose only: to have the results anonymously. That each child wouldn't have their name.
Okay.
Have all the results posted on carrieslist.gov.
We can't do that, Carrie. You're going to expose too many people.
No, it's anonymous.
Right. No, you're going to expose the people running the schools.
Well, it's a private school. They need to be. This is Angie's List for.
I know. I'm
if they're that bad,
right,
then they need to do a couple things. They could either restaff, they could either close down, or they could fire key people, or rehire some good people.
I don't know if they do it here. I haven't seen it here, but in L.A., they have a rating system for restaurants.
Yeah, it's like the Zap something. What is it? The
government has a rating system for restaurants.
Is it any good?
And I don't know.
Why would they need that?
They go to restaurants and they inspect them, and they'll put the letter A.
Oh, that's right. They had
in
that
the window.
Cincinnati. They had that.
Okay,
they had that.
A, B, C, D. I don't know.
I think it's a federal government thing.
Yeah. So, I didn't see the letter F when I went into that Chinese restaurant.
So you're saying that people are going to go to F schools not knowing, unbeknownst to them.
I don't know.
No, should have it mailed to you. Hey, right. Here's your local schools, and this is their grades.
Right. Right. No, absolutely.
I think that taxpayer money would be well spent to do that. Inform all the parents in the entire community how good or how bad all the local schools of their choice are, and then say, here's your voucher.
Also put in there, just like buying a car. Mm-hmm. When you're buying a car, it'll also give you the ratings on efficiency, cost,
emissions,
the price of the car versus what you're getting.
Yeah.
All that. This is from NPR, and I love taking these numbers from them because it's probably low. But this was from 2012, so this was This is 5 years ago. The summer of 2012, NPR said it cost an average of $10,615 per student in public school for a year. That's federal, state, and local government spending combined,
and that's all grades. Because then that's important because even though my high school is $10,000 a year, my daughter's grade school is much less. Much less.
Well, not for the federal government. It's the same.
$10,000.
That's all this across the board
for a 6-year-old.
Correct.
Oh my gosh!
As the map above shows, on one of the master. Okay, Utah spends $6,000 per student. This is just the $10,615. That was average across the board.
Okay.
The state of Utah spends $6,000 per student.
Okay. Are they all dumb there?
No, not really.
Okay.
New York and the District of Columbia. You want to take a stab in the dark at that one?
I have. Well, I mean, the teachers.
And this was 5 years ago, though.
The teachers are going to need to earn more in D.C. because of the cost of living.
Right.
And New York. In New York, it's really high cost of living.
$18,000 per kid 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's probably sounds about right. In Utah, heck, you could probably buy 10,000 acres for $49.95. I mean, it's Utah. Have you been there?
I drove over the Salt Lakes. I flew over the Salt Lakes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember Monument Valley's in Utah, and that's the one that looks like the cartoons with the rocks sticking up.
Right.
It looks very picturesque.
Yep.
But you could see the road you're on will go straight to the horizon like a triangle. It looked like a triangle. Yeah.
So check this out. Before, I forgot to mention this, but the border wall, it's been batted back and forth, and it just came back again this week.
Are they building it? I think we know we got some.
Don't let the cat out the bag yet.
We know some peoples. They are building a wall somewhere. I don't know if it's true.
I don't know where it's at.
I mean, that could all be photoshopped.
Yeah. Or it could be.
It's like a 15, 20-foot wall. I mean, there are people standing next to it.
So they're talking about, originally someone had said 2.5 years to build the wall.
That's pretty quick.
Now they're saying, this week they're saying 3.5 years and like $15 billion.
Okay. I think it'll be like the Berlin Wall.
The left is losing their mind with $15 billion.
Well, I mean.
Okay, hold on.
I mean, we knew it was going to be pretty expensive.
But what do we spend annually subsidizing illegal immigration, local, state, and nationally?
$100 quadrillion.
The lowest of the low numbers from the left wing. Lowballing it, and they're complaining and putting caveats in there. Some of them are saying it's only $5 billion, man.
Okay.
Which is nobody's gonna believe that.
I don't believe that.
Okay. Some were saying it's $25 billion.
Okay. That's more conservative.
Every year. So you're saying one-time shot at this. Right.
Once it's built, it's built.
Some more realistic numbers, 85 to 150, 175 billion, depending on what programs you add in there, whether it be housing, food, water, lodging, medical, illegals going to the hospital. I know somebody very well, works at the hospital, and she registers people when you show up, and she's not allowed to not get you in, knowing you don't speak English, knowing you don't have no papers.
Papeles.
They know they're going to take the loss.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty much how it runs. So what you're saying is for 1/5 of what we spend in 1 year on these programs for illegals,
right?
We can do a one-time shot at building the whole wall.
Right.
Take us about 3.5 years.
Right.
And he's not going to go over budget.
No, dude.
It's not in his DNA.
Well, not only that, but that's construction. That's what he does.
Yeah, he's going to probably be down there with a hard hat.
And not that he's a photo op president, but that would be a great photo op. I'd love it.
What do you mean he's not a photo op president? Well,
Obama was a photo op president.
Yeah, but I don't see the problem with it. I mean, you're president. It's what you do. You have to drum up interest in your projects by showing up with a hard hat.
Right. So Angela Merkel came out this week, said they're gonna implement a program to pay immigrants to leave Germany.
What? Yes. Oh, that's so embarrassing.
So our friend on Twitter, Uncle Hotep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He responded. His handle is @HandyMayhem.
Yeah, Handy Mayhem. Yeah.
Right. He tweeted out, "They're trading migrants like Pokemon cards in Europe."
Oh, that's a good one. Did he tweet that?
Yes.
You know where he's not famous yet, but I think he has a potential to become famous, especially since he was mentioned by Mike Cernovich. I thought that was like a big shout out by Mike Cernovich. But he has a YouTube channel, and I would highly recommend subscribing to Uncle Hotep, which is
you get Sam Keel's back on the hospital thing when I was talking about the hospital, illegal immigrants going to the hospital. If you're listening to us live, get on the message board and the message chat.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Good to see Ronald on there as well, and DJT made his appearance.
We always get DJT on, and he should change his name to POTUS.
And then Sam just messaged out a bill over $900,000 average a month for one hospital, unpaid bills, classified illegal aliens. #fact.
Wow.
If you think about it, I mean, an ambulance ride is $5,000.
Oh my, that's ridiculous.
Ambulance showing
Is there
up.
an MRI scanning the ground to make sure that everything's okay underneath?
I'm sorry. Let me back up. Ambulance ride on top of the ER room, which is $5,000. The ER room is $5,000 to show up, but the ambulance ride is at least a couple grand.
No, that's ridiculous. Real quick, Uncle Hotep's YouTube channel is actually called Handy Mayhem also. So that's where you would search it. And I put him on notification, man.
Does he?
I like to. He's the one that puts the camera on his windshield while he's driving. Apparently, he commutes someplace pretty far every single day, to and from, and so he just turns the camera on and just starts talking, and it's pretty entertaining. I'll give it to him.
Maybe he should contact Allstate.
GPS. Turn right up ahead.
You know,
you never update me, so now I just have to wing it. I meant turn left up ahead. Recalculating. Turn right now!
Nice.
Your cut rate insurance may not pay for all this, so get Allstate. You can save.
Love it.
Love the mayhem. I love
Recalculating.
We did that. We did that the other night. That was last night.
Yeah, probably last
Yeah.
night. We went through all the Mayhem commercials, but that's not Handy Mayhem. No. Handy Mayhem is Uncle Hotep.
Right.
And he will get your mind right.
I wanted to hit this real quick, just real fast, not take too much time, but just to give you the heads up over this was an article written by Breitbart, Larry Schwarzkart, Democrats in worst shape ever. The fact is, although we now know the polls were horribly wrong, Trump's victory, while quite small compared to what it could have been. He's talking about the landslide that should have been.
Exactly.
Okay, Maine, four votes went to Clinton, 3-1. However, she only won it by 22,000. Gary Johnson took 38. Most people agree Gary Johnson lost it for Trump. Like, Trump should have gotten Maine. New Hampshire, four electoral. Clinton only won it by 2,800 votes.
Yeah, that's right.
Minnesota, 10 electoral. Trump made a very strong surge.
Minnesota's the one with all the refugees, Muslim refugees from Africa.
Right. Trump won the state 2-1 in early voting, but much of it came during Access Hollywood tape. Gave Clinton the state by 44,000 votes. Virginia 13 electoral, Clinton by 212, but 200,000 criminals were allowed to vote.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about
Johnson
that.
and independent candidate McMuffin siphoned 172,000 votes.
For which state?
For Virginia.
Really?
Yeah, we should have won Virginia. New Mexico, 5 votes, fell to Clinton by 65,000, with Johnson taking 74. This was a state where Johnson's presence very easily could have cost Trump the win. Nevada, 6 electoral, Clinton won it by 27, Johnson took 37.
Yeah, the Never Trumpers were really doing a very great job of trying to get Hillary to win.
Colorado, 9 electoral votes. Trump lost it by 136,000. Johnson took 144 and McMuffin took 28.
Oh, that's a lot. That's more than the difference between Trump and Hillary.
He lost by 136. Johnson and McMuffin took almost 200,000.
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado.
Wow.
Trump lost these 7 states by a total of 500,000. shifting 51 electoral votes by narrowly denying him a massive landslide. The flip factor, what is needed to reverse the decision was merely a 260,000 vote. Trump gained 290,000 votes, more than Romney in Pennsylvania alone. In short, the fake news media is missing a much larger story that the Democrats are teetering on the edge of an abyss that could see them utterly wiped out in 2018 and 2012.
Great. I'm really 2012 or 2020? 2018. He said 2012. I was like, wow.
2020.
You're listening to a recording.
My glasses got smudged and I had to take them off halfway through the show.
Oh.
It's small print.
So, yeah, I always thought it was going to be a massive landslide. I openly admit to everybody that I don't really feel like my prediction was exactly right because I called for a massive landslide and he just kind of made it by.
But we were right, though. I mean, literally, we were on the edge of being right.
Yeah, based on that article. And also that article doesn't point out not the most important thing, but something else you could definitely throw in there, which is that the 3 million people that voted in California that we believe were totally illegal, fraudulent votes.
Yeah.
So you take away the 3 extra million alone, not including all the stupid McMuffin and Johnson votes throughout the country.
Right.
You take away the 3 million in California that were illegal, and now you have an actual Trump majority nationally.
Right.
Which they love to try to. By the way our electoral college works, it is the most accurate way to describe our election, our general election, as saying that Trump won 30 states to Hillary's 20 states. That's the most accurate way to describe it.
Right. And just real quick, this is a minute-long clip by Paul Joseph Watson that actually falls in line with what we're talking about. It's called the counterculture.
Oh, my gosh. This was
just the first minute of his 6-minute clip. It's
Let me
phenomenal.
tell you something. I almost feel like playing the whole 6 minutes. We don't have time, do we?
I don't have 6 minutes.
All right. Well, that's a shame because let me tell you something. Alex Jones never busts in and gives his 2 cents about any video of other people on his show.
Right.
They just do their thing.
Right.
This was such a good video that Alex Jones had to get in and precede it and say, guys, you gotta listen to this. You gotta listen to this video. This is groundbreaking stuff.
Okay, let's get it on.
Listen.
Having lost the political argument, leftists are desperately clinging to this idea that they have the monopoly on cool, and that no countercultural movement could ever be created by the right. In fact, I've never seen so many members of the lefty Twitterati so triggered as when I tweeted, conservatism is the new counterculture.
Some girl on the ground.
So I
crying.
tweeted it again, and again, and again, and again.
He nailed it.
Seriously, I know the word triggered gets overused now, but this was a deluge of butthurt. What are they so afraid of? Well, as Breitbart said, politics is downstream from culture. Most young people who aren't paying attention to the news get their opinions from celebrities. Hollywood and the entertainment industry viciously polices the boundaries of accepted opinion, so that anyone who strays from the leftist orthodoxy is ostracized and excommunicated. They're all for diversity, until it comes to diversity of thought.
And right there, when he was at the very end of that, he had a picture of James Woods. And James Woods had a tweet that he had tweeted out, and a picture of James Woods saying, "I know I'll never work in Hollywood again."
Wow, that's sad because he's actually a pretty good actor. I think this was one of the most important videos historically that's come out in maybe the entire year, the past year, maybe even 2 years, because, you know, when you think back at the big counterculture phenomenons of like Hate Street of San Francisco that led to the Flower Children and the hippie movement and all that kind of stuff, you know, when that stuff was going on, I don't think they knew the impact and the significance historically of what was happening. And then you look back and all of a sudden it becomes something you can make a 2-hour-long documentary about and then talk about it 4 decades later, 5 decades later, whatever, like many, many, many years later, and probably 100 years from now, they'll be talking about that kind of stuff. Paul Joseph Watson is the only one and the first one, the only one so far, and the first one I know of, who's identified this as the new counterculture, but man, did he ever nail it. He absolutely nailed it. 20 years from now, people will be looking back at what we did.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. You got these, like I reported earlier, and this video goes deep into the celebrity mindset and the celebrities that are spewing out this hate and this anger, and that's where these low information snowflakes, these SJWs get their information, is spoon-fed from these moronic Hollywood elitists. And
I'm glad you remembered to play that. That was a groundbreaking video. You should hear the whole thing. If I had remembered about that video when we were doing our show prep, I would have demanded that you play the whole thing. It is that big. Like I said, Alex Jones was like, you know what? I'm going to definitely talk about this video before I put it on there. Because I'm going to tell you something right now.
It's very good.
I gotta show my face.
Right, that's very good. it's so much so, even and not even Hollywood celebs, but I know sports guys who are really sick about sports, and that's all they do, and they do not listen to politics, but they don't realize that they're being indoctrinated by the left wing ESPN, the left wing NFL, and this week on Tuesday, NFL Network reporter Mike Silver issued some strong words for the Trump admin on Twitter. He tweeted out, "Be strong, snowflakes. I'm railing against racism and the like. These people suck. I won't sit back and stay silent." When pressed by one of his Twitter followers on the identity of these people, Silver then tweeted again, "Yes, Trump, Bannon, Conway, Spencer, Flynn, pay attention. They are not big on making non-white male Christians feel accepted."
When is that their responsibility? They're just doing their thing. They're trying to make America great again. They're trying to make America function properly. I mean, what?
So that's the NFL. I'm telling you, it's everywhere. And Rush has been talking about this for years, how the NFL the sports network has fallen to the PC crowd, to the left wing leftists, the nut jobs. Little bit more of a lesson on socialism, Democrats, communists. It starts with Democrats, then they move towards socialism, and then into a communist state, or sometimes they just completely destroy, like the audio that you played of Tommy Boy, where he completely destroyed.
Oh my God!
Right. Yeah. So this week, Venezuela got new news coming out of Venezuela, the socialist, communist implosion, where it is illegal to kill. I didn't know this. I read into the article. It's illegal to kill flamingos. Okay. However, widespread killing of flamingos, anteaters, as well as dogs. Why? To stave off hunger.
Oh my God.
Yes. Say a prayer tonight for those in Venezuela. They get the hell out of that communist regime. By the way, the former garbage truck driver, he drove a garbage truck.
Okay, yeah.
Who's now president.
Trudeau. Yeah.
No. That was a Venezuelan.
Venezuelan.
Yeah.
No. Trudeau definitely is.
Yikes!
Oh, that's so funny.
He blames all of this on America. He blames all of this on American capitalism.
Kind of like Hugo Chavez.
He was blaming Obama the entire time, and it's everybody else's fault but his.
CNN fake news. What do you think?
I'll tell you what I think. I think you nailed it. So there was a tweet out this morning. We didn't talk about where that came from, why he said that.
Okay, why did he say that?
Because, Donald Trump tweeted out this morning How much time we got?
Oh, just a minute.
Okay. Donald Trump tweeted out this morning that he said that, and he had been cut off. Okay. And
right.
so,
then he said, "Oh my, yeah." He was talking about Bernie Sanders at CNN saying fake news.
Right. And then everybody said, "No, that's false." He said, "I was just kidding." Well, he did get cut off, and I think that they reminded him that they're paying the mortgage on a $650,000 house, and that he has a $250,000 car that they bought for him, and they got back, and they said, "Oh, I was just kidding about it." That's what I believe. I think that's the true news right there. Fake news strikes again over at CNN.
Bernie Sanders ain't afraid. I mean, he's an old coot, and you know what old coots do?
What?
They say stuff they shouldn't say. I mean, look at Uncle Joe and that.
And they had to cut him off, take him to the woodshed, and get it right.
They had to take the alcohol away from Uncle Joe when he was doing the Villages commercial.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Good night, folks.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom.